ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪಾತ್ರರಿಗೂ ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಶುಭೋದಯಗಳು. ಆತ್ಮೀಯರೇ, ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣಗೊಂಡಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ PU ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಹಾಗೂ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಮೂಹ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ PU ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ವಿಭಾಗದ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೇವೆ. ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪಾತ್ರರೇ ಹಾಗೂ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರ್ಪಡೆಗೊಂಡಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ನನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹಿರಿಯ ಮತ್ತು ಕಿರಿಯ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ಈ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವವೇ ನಿಂತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅರ್ಥ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ, ಆರ್ಥಿಕತೆಯ ಮೇಲೆನೆ ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವ ನಿಂತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಆ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ ಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ಮತ್ತು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟತೆಯನ್ನ ಹೊಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿಷಯವಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ದಿನ ತಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUC ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪಠ್ಯದ ವಿಷಯವಾಗಿ ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆಯಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಮತ್ತು ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUC ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಷಯವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆಯಾದಂತಹ ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣಾ ಅಥವಾ ಅವಲೋಕನ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ PU ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವಿವತ್ತು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪಾತ್ರರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ವಿಚಾರವಾಗಿ, ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ನ ವಿಚಾರವಾಗಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜು ನಡೆದು ಬಂದಂತಹ ದಾರಿ, ಬೆಳೆದು ಬಂದಂತಹ ದಾರಿಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಸುಧಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಒದಗಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅವರನ್ನ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಸುಧಾ ಮೇಡಮ್, ನಮಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಾವು ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಒದಗಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. A very good morning to one and all who are present here, respected teachers and my dear students. Myself, I am a Sudha SN, Department of Science at New Expert PU College, Ramanagara. It's my pleasure to introduce about our college. So let me introduce you about our New Expert PU College, and I am very excited and happy to deliver the details of our college. So New Expert PU College, recognized by the government of Karnataka, had been established in the year 2017 with 140 students in the PUC and Science and Commerce, both the courses, under Professional Educational Trust, which is started by the professors who were worked at the reputed colleges at Bangalore, and today it gained 350 number of students with its achievements every year. We achieved about 95% of result and also admired by the pre-university. We have given good facilities and other career building opportunities like seminars, workshops, etc. So let's move on to our vision of college. We have a team of professors working with the reputed colleges in Bangalore, coming to the Ramanagara to set up our sophisticated institution with a great desire to provide our class educational service to the localities. Success Point is our academic partner for CA and CS foundation courses, and our missions are to be the best at serving society by creating knowledge and educating young generation for global careers at atmosphere that facilitates personal commitment to the educational success of students in an environment that values diversity and community. Highly successful alumni who contribute to the professions. In the global society programs that integrate global awareness, communications, skills, and team building across the curriculum, leadership, and services to meet society needs. And our motto is the institution strives to fulfill its mission to provide educational opportunities to all aspirants youths to excel in the life by the developing academic excellence, forecasting values, creating civic responsibility, and building the global competencies in a dynamic environment. And I wish to everyone to enjoy the rest of the session. And thanks for giving me the wonderful opportunity to deliver about our new expert PU college. Thank you, one and all.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮೇಡಮ್. ನಮ್ಮ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ PU ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀಡಿದಂತ ತಮಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಕವಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಹಲವಾರು ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಭವಿಷ್ಯದ ಚಿಂತನೆಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ದುಡಿತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಸಂಗತಿ. ಪ್ರಪ್ರಥಮ ಬಾರಿಗೆ ರಾಮನಗರ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಪ್ರಪ್ರಥಮ ಬಾರಿಗೆ PU ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ಇದು ಸಹ ಒಂದು ಸಾಧನೆಯ ಮೆಟ್ಟಿಲೇ ಸರಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನ, ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಪ್ರಾಚಾರ್ಯರನ್ನ ಮತ್ತು ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳನ್ನ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಲು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ KM ರವರು ಅವರನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಆತ್ಮೀಯರನ್ನ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅವರನ್ನ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
Thank you, Arunkumar sir. Good morning, everyone. Today was a special day because of the Department of Economics new expert group of institutions organized by one-day economic workshop, especially PU students. This seminar conducted by the Department of Economics new expert PU College, Ramanagara. ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ, ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜು ರಾಮನಗರ, ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ರಾಮನಗರದ ಸಹಯೋಗದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು PUC ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ದಿನದ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಶಾಪ್ ಅನ್ನು ಏರ್ಪಡಿಸಲಾಗಿದ್ದು, ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ, ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರ್ತಾ, ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ನ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಪ್ರಾಂಶುಪಾಲರಾದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ DR ರವಿಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಾದಂತಹ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಕಿರಣ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್ ರವರು ಖಜಾಂಚಿಗಳು, ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಸಲಹೆಗಾರರು, ಇವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ನ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮಹೇಶ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ವಿಶೇಷ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಬಿಂದು ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಾಗಿ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವ ನಮ್ಮ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ಕೂಡ ಆದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದೀಪಾ V, ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರು, ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜು ಹೊನ್ನಾವರ, ನಾಗಮಂಗಲ ತಾಲೂಕು, ಇವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಆತ್ಮೀಯತೆಯಿಂದ ಹಾಗೂ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದಿಂದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ನನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿ ಮಿತ್ರರು ಹಾಗೂ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಬಂಧು ಆದಂತಹ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯ, ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರು, ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜು ಅರ್ಕೇಶ್ವರ ನಗರ, ಮಂಡ್ಯ, ಇವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿ ಮಿತ್ರರಾದಂತ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅರುಣ್ಕುಮಾರ್, ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್, ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್, ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ರೇವಣ್ಣ, ಮಿಸ್ ವಿಭಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸುನೀಲ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಹಾಗೂ ಇತರ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೂ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಮತ್ತೋರ್ವ ವಿಶೇಷ ಆಹ್ವಾನಿತರು ಶ್ರೀ ಸುಧಾಕರ್ ಎಸ್ ಎಒ, ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಬನ್ನೂರು, ಇವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಬಿಂದುಗಳಾಗಿ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಅರುಣ್ಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್.
ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಿಕೊಂಡಂತಹ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಪಾಶ್ಚಾತ್ಯ ವಿದ್ವಾಂಸ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಜಾನ್ ಟೂಲಿ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು, ಜೀವನವೇ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಣವೇ ಜೀವನ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಸಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಏಳುಬೀಳುಗಳನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಆ ಏಳುಬೀಳುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ವಿದ್ಯೆಗಿಂತ ಮಿಗಿಲಾದಂತಹ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣವನ್ನ ಪ್ರತಿ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಕಲಿತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಶಿಕ್ಷಣದಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಸಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನವನ್ನ ರೂಪಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಹಲವಾರು ಹಂತಗಳನ್ನ, ಹಲವಾರು ಮೆಟ್ಟಲುಗಳನ್ನ ತುಳಿತಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನವನ್ನ ರೂಪಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕಲಿತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಆ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನವೇ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಣವೇ ನಿಜವಾದ ಜೀವನ ಅಂತ ಜಾನ್ ಟೂಲಿ ಅವರ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆನಪಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿಸೋಣ. ಕೀರ್ತನ MC ಅವರು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಕೀರ್ತನರವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ವಸಿಷ್ಠ ವಾಸದೇವಾದಿ ವಂದಿತ ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ವಸಿಷ್ಠ ವಾಸದೇವಾದಿ ವಂದಿತ ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ವಸಿಷ್ಠ ವಾಸದೇವಾದಿ ವಂದಿತ ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮಹಾದೇವಸುತಂ 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 ಗುರುಗುಹನುತಂ ಮಹಾದೇವಸುತಂ ಮಹಾದೇವಸುತಂ ಗುರುಗುಹನುತಂ ಮಾರಕೋಟಿ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ ಶಾಂತಂ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯ ನಾಟಕಾದಿ ಪ್ರಿಯಂ ಮೋಷಕ ವಾಹನ ಮೋದಕ ಪ್ರಿಯ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯ ನಾಟಕಾದಿ ಪ್ರಿಯಂ ಮೋಷಕ ವಾಹನ ಮೋದಕ ಪ್ರಿಯಂ ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ವಸಿಷ್ಠ ವಾಸದೇವಾದಿ ವಂದಿತ ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ ಮನಸ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಿ, ವಸಿಷ್ಠ ವಾಸದೇವಾದಿ ವಂದಿತ ಮಹಾಗಣಪತಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
ವಿಘ್ನ ನಿವಾರಕ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರನ್ ನೆನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿನಿ ಕೀರ್ತನ MC ಅವರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪಾರ್ವರು ಮತ್ತು ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಹನುಮಂತು ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಷಯದ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರು, ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ PU ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಮಂಡ್ಯ. ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮನ ಕುರಿತು ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತಹ ಹಿತನುಡಿಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ವಿನಂತಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಹನುಮಂತು ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಾನು ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯ ಅಂತೇಳಿ, ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರು, ಬಾಲಕಿಯರ ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜು, ಅರ್ಕೇಶ್ವರ ನಗರ, ಮಂಡ್ಯ. ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜು ರಾಮನಗರದವರು ಈ ದಿನ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUC ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪಠ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಆಯೋಜನೆಗೊಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಸುಮಾರು 23 ವರ್ಷದ ಸೇವಾ ಅನುಭವದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಪ್ರಥಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮತ್ತು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯವರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಾಂಶುಪಾಲರಾದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರವಿಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೇನೆ.
ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್.
ಮತ್ತು ಈ ದಿನ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು ನನಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ತರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಚಾರ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯವರು, ಮಂಡ್ಯ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯವರು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಳವಾಗಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರೇಟ್ ಪದವಿಯನ್ನು ಗಳಿಸಿದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತರಬೇತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಗಾರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರಿಗೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸವನ್ನು ಗಳಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು ಮತ್ತು ಉತ್ತಮ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅವರಿಂದ ಪ್ರಶಂಸೆಗೆ ಒಳಪಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಹೊನ್ನಾವರ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಪ್ರಾಧ್ಯಾಪಕರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿ ದೀಪಾ ರವರು ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ವಿಷಯವನ್ನ ಮನನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನನಗೆ ಖುಷಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಚಾರ. ಅವರನ್ನ ಈ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮಂಡ್ಯ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಚಾರ, ಪದವಿಯನ್ನ ಹಾದಿ ಉನ್ನತ ವ್ಯಾಸಂಗಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಭೂಮಿಕೆಯನ್ನ ಸಿದ್ಧಪಡಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಂತ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಹಂತ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಸರ್ಕಾರ, ಪೋಷಕರು, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂತಹದ್ದು ತಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಚಾರ. ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಗಳಲ್ಲೇ ಅಪಾರ ಜನಮನ್ನಣೆ ಗಳಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿಷಯ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ವಿಶಾಲವಾದಂತಹ ಜಗತ್ತಿನ ವ್ಯವಹಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಹಲವಾರು ವಿಷಯಗಳು ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚರ್ಚೆಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆಗೆ ಒಳಪಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹದ್ದು ತಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿಚಾರ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವೇನು ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆ, ಅನುಭೋಗ, ವಿನಿಮಯ, ಹಂಚಿಕೆ ಈ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿರ್ಬಹುದು, ಆರ್ಥಿಕತೆಯ ಮೂಲಭೂತ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಿರ್ಬಹುದು, ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯಾ ಬಾಹುಳ್ಯದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಇವತ್ತು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ನಡೀತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಯುದ್ಧಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶಸ್ತ್ರಾಸ್ತ್ರಗಳನ್ನ ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ತಗಲ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹಣ ತಗಲ್ತದೆ, ಖರ್ಚು ತಗಲ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿರ್ಬಹುದು. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬೆಳಕನ್ನ ಚೆಲ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಚಾರ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ PUC, ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUC ಪಠ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಮಾತನಾಡುವುದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದಂತಹ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ತಜ್ಞರೆಲ್ಲ ಗುಣಾತ್ಮಕತೆಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಪ್ರಾಶಸ್ತ್ಯವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಕಳೆದ 2-3 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಈಚೆಗೆ ಗುಣಾತ್ಮಕತೆಗಿಂತ ಪರಿಮಾಣಾತ್ಮಕತೆಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಶೇಕಡವಾರು ಫಲಿತಾಂಶಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪ್ರಾಶಸ್ತ್ಯವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪಠ್ಯ ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಆಳವಾಗಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನನ್ನ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ COVID-19 ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳು ನಡೀದೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪಠ್ಯ ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನೇ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಡಿಮೆಗೊಳಿಸಿ ಸೀಮಿತ ಪಠ್ಯ ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನ ಮಾತ್ರ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಈ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಿಗದಿಪಡಿಸಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಈ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಒಟ್ಟು ಪಠ್ಯ ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ವಿಷಯದ ಆಳವಾದ ಜ್ಞಾನ ದೊರೆಯುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂತಹದ್ದು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಭಾವನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಮುಂದಿನ ಹಂತದ ತರಗತಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ವಿಷಯದ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಕರಿತೀವೋ ಅದು ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂತಹದ್ದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ, ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUC ಪಠ್ಯ ವಸ್ತು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಫಲಿತಾಂಶದ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ, ಉತ್ತೀರ್ಣ ಆಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಬಹಳ ಸುಲಭವಾಗಿದೆ. ಇಲಾಖೆನೇ ನಿಗದಿಪಡಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೋಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಅವರು ಸಿದ್ಧಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅತ್ಯುನ್ನತ ಶ್ರೇಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೇರ್ಗಡೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಉತ್ತಮವಾದಂತಹ ಫಲಿತಾಂಶವನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು. ಆ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಈ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಸದುಪಯೋಗವನ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನ ಸಂಗ್ರಹಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದಕ್ಕನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ನಡೆಸೋದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಫಲಿತಾಂಶವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಕಾರಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮಾತನ್ನ ನಾನು ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ, ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಾನು ಈ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಪ್ರಾಚಾರ್ಯರು ಮತ್ತು ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿ ವರ್ಗದವರಿಗೆ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಂಡ್ಯ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸುವುದರ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ನಾನು 2 ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್, ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ತಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ನುಡಿಗಳಿಂದ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿದಾಯಕವಾದಂತಹ ಮಾತುಗಳು. ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪಾತ್ರರೇ, ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದಾಗ್ಲೇ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಿಂದ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೂ ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚವನ್ನ ಇವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಅವಲೋಕನವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ವಿಷಯವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಅವಲೋಕನವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಇವತ್ತು GDP ದರ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಏರಿಳಿತ ಆಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಹಲವಾರು ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಸಹ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಸಹ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನ ನಿವಾರಣೆಗೆ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಜ್ಞರೇ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾದಂತಹ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನ ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರವನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿಷಯ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆಯಾಗಿ ಓವರ್ ವ್ಯೂ ಅಂಡ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ PUC ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್, ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆಯಾಗಿ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUCಯ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಷಯದ ಪಠ್ಯಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನ ಒಂದು ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣಾತ್ಮಕ ಮತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಅವಲೋಕನವಾದಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಾಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದೀಪಾ V ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕಿರು ಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸಬ್ನಮ್ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರು. ಸಬ್ನಮ್ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಮೇಡಮ್, ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳ ಕಿರು ಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡಿ ಮೇಡಮ್.
A very good morning to everyone. My name is Shabnam, Associate Professor in English, New Expert PU College, Ramanagara. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce and welcome the chief guest of our today's function, that is Dr. Deepa V. Ma'am. Dr. Deepa V. Ma'am is presently working as a lecturer in economics since 2009 at Government PU College, Honnavara, that is in Nagamangala Tq. Ma'am is a postgraduate in economics from University of Bangalore with the specialization in urban economics. She has completed her Bachelor of Education with 2 universities. She has also got gold medals and doctoral degrees from University of Mysore and also qualified with UGC NET examination in economics that adds to her academic eligibility. She has worked as a resource person for DSERT in the preparation of economics content development for 8th and 9th standard students that is specially meant for the special children. In parallel to that, she has been a resource person in economics for the various training sessions organized by Department of PU Education at Mandya and Hassan district. She has also contributed for the training sessions organized for KPSC aspirants in economics and commerce for lecturer selections organized by Mandya district PU College Lecturers Association. She has also presented various research papers on education and inclusive development, education development index and economics of education in national and state level seminars. So it's our pleasure to have you here, ma'am, in this today's one-day online workshop. So once again, I would like to welcome you to this workshop. And I will also take this opportunity to welcome our beloved principal, vice principal, my colleagues, dear students, and all the participants who are going to make this event successful. Thank you.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಬಿಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು. ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕಿರುದಾಗಿ ಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ರು. ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ದೀಪಾ ವಿ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದೀಪಾ ವಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ವಿಚಾರವಾದಂತಹ ಓವರ್ ವ್ಯೂ ಅಂಡ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ PUC ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾದಂತಹ ಸಮಯವನ್ನ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೀಸಲಿಡೋಣ. ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಅವರನ್ನ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಅವರನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಅವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಲವಾರು ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ಹಲವಾರು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿದಾಯಕ ಆಗಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅಂಕಗಳನ್ನ ಗಳಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಈ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರ್ಪಡೆಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರ ಭವಿಷ್ಯ ಉತ್ತಮ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹಾರೈಸ್ತಾ ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ನ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಗೌರವಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದೀಪಾ ವಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರನ್ನ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಈಗ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಉತ್ತಮವಾದಂತಹ ಈ ಒಂದು ಘಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಸಮಯವನ್ನ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮೀಸಲಿಡೋಣ.
Good morning, one and all. Thank you everyone for your such sweet words. And I'm profoundly happy and overwhelmed to be a part of this one-day workshop. And I would more call it as an orientation on overview of second PU syllabus. And I'm really thankful for new expert group of institutions, Ramanagara, for having organized such a wonderful program that would be useful not only for their college students, but in fact, they have a wider perspective of helping out the students throughout the state as well. So I'm thankful for making me a part of this program. So this has been a very confusing state of affairs as we all have been undergoing. That we know that we are into a COVID situation, which was never seen before in India and the entire world as such. We were in a confusion, thinking we won't be able to do anything. Later on, a stage came. We thought we will do something, and yes, we started doing something. As Walt Disney has rightly said, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So we have been talking about bringing normalcy back to the situation. So the first step towards bringing back the normalcy is to act accordingly to the situation and do the best what we can do. The challenges in front of us today is, of course, the pandemic around us and non-availability of the cure for it, and because of which the academic schedule was completely disturbed. And at the sword edge were the students, actually. Students and students, especially from PU and SLC classes. So we have to accept new changes and challenges, and every small step counts here. And everyone were looking back to come back to normalcy. And with the same regard, we are into a new effort of discussing how to bring back the second PU students back to their normal classes or normal academic learning schedule. So this program is one such step to bring them back to the normalcy and put them back to their academic schedule. So in today's workshop or the orientation program, we will be mainly talking about reduced syllabus from Department of Pre-University Education. As we all know, the Department of Pre-University Education, because of this pandemic situation, has reduced the syllabus to an extent of 30%. And we are going to discuss about the same. And of course, we are going to know how to prepare for the examination with the limited time given, and from the examination perspective, how good can we help the students to be focused and to perform better in their examination and succeed as well. See, as we all know, that economic syllabus has got two parts, part A and part B. And the question paper, the final examination question paper would be set for 149 marks. 149 marks, and out of which 71 marks would be from microeconomics and 78 marks would be from macroeconomics. This I'm talking about the marks distribution according to the previous year's blueprint. As of now, for this academic year, as this has been a special case, the department is yet to intimate us about the blueprint. The preparations are on, so we are going to wait for the blueprint to come up for this year. As of previous years blueprint, this has been the weightage for micro and macroeconomics. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ PU ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ 149 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಫೈನಲ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಪೇಪರ್ನ ಸೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ 71 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ 78 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ನಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಏನು ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು. ಈಗ ಇನ್ನ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸರಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಗೈಡ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ I'm not able to tell you very exactly what is going to happen for this year. As of now, tentatively, we shall understand this would be the weightage according to the available information. Sorry for the interruption. There was some technical glitch around. So these are the chapters that has been written in part A. See, as we know, microeconomics had 6 chapters before, but now the 2 chapters have been taken off from the department, pre-university department, and the 4 chapters have been retained. The 4 chapters retained are Introduction, Theory of Consumer Behavior, Production and Cost, and Theory of Firm under Perfect Competition. ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಎ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲು 6 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಅದನ್ನ ಈಗ 2 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ 4 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಈ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಎ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ 4 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಲೈಕ್ ವೈಸ್ Likewise, in part B, macroeconomics, also 2 chapters have been taken off, and there are only 4 chapters retained. That is Introduction, National Income Accounting, Money and Banking, Determination of Income and Employment. These are the 4 chapters that are retained in part B. Part B ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಈ 4 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೈ ಬಿಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. See, this table gives the relative importance of the chapters in both micro and macro economics. According to the previous blueprint, as I discussed, the microeconomics and the macroeconomic part has got a weightage of chapters in each part. Microeconomics has got more weightage from theory of consumer behavior and theory of firm under perfect competition, followed by production and cost and introduction. In macroeconomics, most of the marks would come from national income accounting, money and banking, followed by determination of income and employment, and then introduction. Microeconomics nalli theory of consumer behavior ಮತ್ತೆ theory of firm under perfect competition ಈ 2 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮುಖ್ಯ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು. ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮನಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಂದ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಬರುವಂತಹ ಅಥವಾ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲಾಟ್ ಆಗುವಂತಹ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ 2 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆದ್ಯತೆ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. Now, let me begin with looking into the contents of part A, that is microeconomics, chapter 1, introduction. Now, my plan is to introduce you to the key concepts and the main concepts that are expected in examination, and that would help you people to score more marks. This is also based on the review of few question papers previously that's been given from the department. See, these are the few concepts that we can look into in the chapter 1, that is first chapter, introduction for microeconomics. The first and the basic concept that comes up is the simple economy. A simple economy is nothing but a network of economic activities. As you can see, there are pictures here wherein there are different sectors primary sector, secondary sector, and the tertiary sector. An economy has the interdependence of participants in these sectors. See, a simple economy would explain how people in these different sectors are dependent on one another for their existence and contribute for the growth of the economy. ಒಂದು ಸರಳ ಅರ್ಥವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲಗಳು ಬಳಕೆ ಆಗ್ತವೆ ವಿವಿಧ ವಲಯಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರನ್ನ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ತಿಳಿಸತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸರಳ ಆರ್ಥಿಕತೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. There was a question added to the question bank last year that was about farmer weaver teacher resource sharing, and that was expected for 4 marks. Here, as we know, farmers are the basic backbone of the economy, and they produce food and the fodder for animals and human beings. They are the main producers of food inputs for us. So now weavers produce cloths, and teachers, they add to the knowledge, learning, and skill enhancement. And of course, because of farmers produce, whatever the farmers produce, that will be used by the weavers and teachers. And whatever the teacher produce, the cloths would be used by the farmers as well as teachers. And the teacher, when she earns an income out of her profession, spends the same to exchange the goods produced from the farmers as well as the weaver. So this is how the the interdependence happens among the different sectors of economy, and that is how they share their resources also while working in the economy. So if you can explain this interdependence between a farmer, weaver, and a teacher very briefly, that would add up for the 4 marks. The next important thing that we can concentrate upon here is basic problems of an economy, and that is expected for 4 marks. See, the economy has got basic 3 problems in economy. This would be possible to appear in any of the economies: what to produce, how to produce, and on whom to produce. These are the 3 basic problems that we find in every economy or every economic model. So what to produce is a question of problem of choice. How to produce is a question of choice of technology, and whom to produce is a problem of distribution. How to produce what to produce is about a choice between the basic necessities or the luxuries. How to produce is a choice between a labor intensive technology and the capital intensive technology. Whom to produce is a question about distribution of resources among poor, middle class, and the poor, the rich. So now the next important concept that we can come across in this chapter would be the differences between centrally planned economy and market economy. All major decisions in the economy, if it is taken by the government sector or any central authority, we call that economy as a centrally planned economy. And the main motive of such economy would be enhancing public welfare. For example, countries like China, Cuba, North Korea, Russia, these were the countries which have adopted centrally planned economy more or less. And when it comes to market economy, it's a kind of economy where the demand and supply, what we call it as market forces, they play a major role in determining the major decisions in the economy. Most profoundly, the private sectors act in a high-handed manner in the market economy. The main motive of such economy would be profit maximizing, and a couple of examples for such market economy are USA, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Canada. Apart from this, we can have one more economic model, that is mixed economy, wherein both such government sector and private sector work together. The best example could be Indian economy. So this in our economy, as we find that there is existence of both government sector as well as private sector parallelly working with one another. So these are the important concepts that you should be looking around. The next important concept would be the differences between micro and macroeconomics. See, as we all understand, micro and macroeconomics is the two dimension of study. When we have to understand economics, we can understand it from different dimensions. Apart from that, micro and macroeconomics stand as the most important dimensions to understand economics. Microeconomics studies small units of economy, and macroeconomic studies the aggregates. Microeconomics does have narrow scope and it studies about partial equilibrium. Macroeconomics studies about general equilibrium, national income, total output, and it has a wider scope of study. Microeconomics, the examples of microeconomic study is individual income, a firm's output, a person, saving of a person, so something like this. So which are broken into smaller units of study. The important concept here would be, along with the micro and macroeconomics, is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is nothing but the amount of a good given up to get an additional unit of Y. See, the importance of opportunity cost in economics is such that because we all understand the basic problem of choice in economics comes up due to the shortage of resources. We have very less resources, but we have unlimited wants. There are infinite wants and limited resources to satisfy those wants. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to give up one in order to satisfy the other want. So it is also true with the resources. If you have to get an additional resource, you have to give up the existing resources. So when you give up an amount of one good to get an additional unit of another good, we call that as opportunity cost. Now, when you people are attending today's workshop, this is a live example for opportunity cost. You are attending this workshop at the cost of not going to your friend's house or not seeing a cinema. That is an opportunity cost. You have given up seeing a cinema to attend this class. So that is the opportunity cost of today's program. The next two important concepts that we have is production possibility set and production possibility frontier. See, production possibility set is a combination of two goods produced in an economy using the available resources and technology. And production possibility frontier, it is the graphical representation of the production possibility set. As you see here, there are combination A, B, and C. We call these as the sets of or the combination of goods. You have two goods here. One is refrigerators and the cars on the x-axis. That is not seen, I guess. So a country with the given resources and technology can produce a set of refrigerators and cars in different combinations. Combination A, combination B, and combination C. So with this given combination, it can choose any one of the combination to produce the refrigerators and cars with a given limited resources and technology. When you plot these combinations on a graph, whatever the curve exists, you call that as production possibility frontier. And this curve also represents the maximum number of refrigerators and maximum number of cars an economy can produce with the given limited resources in the available time. So these were the important concepts that you need to look into in the chapter 1. Next, we are moving to chapter 2, that is consumer behavior, Anubhogya Vartaneya Siddhanta. So these are the important concepts that you need to highlight in chapter 2. Basically, the chapter 2 consists of utility analysis. And utility basically means the what satisfying power of a commodity. So here utility analysis can be understood in two dimensions or two classifications. That is cardinal analysis and ordinal analysis. Cardinal analysis basically speaks about measuring utility in terms of number. Ordinal analysis ranks the utility. Cardinal utility analysis says how much utility we have got as a consumer in terms of numbers. Ordinal utility compares the utility of a good received by a person in an order, that is high, low kind of ranking would be given under ordinal analysis. In cardinal analysis, we have got three important concepts, that is total utility, average utility, and marginal utility. Total utility is the sum of utility perceived from all units of consumption. That is, the formula to calculate total utility would be the summation of marginal utility from each unit. The average utility is nothing but the utility that we derive from per unit of consumption. Marginal utility is nothing but the additional utility that a consumer gets by consuming one more additional unit of a good. I hope you are not able to see the formulas here. The average utility is derived by the ratio of total utility to the quantity consumed. Marginal utility is the difference between the total utility of the nth unit and the nth minus 1 unit. ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣದ ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ರೀತಿಯಾದ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣದ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ಸಂಖ್ಯಾಸೂಚಕ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಥಾನದರ್ಶಕ. ಸಂಖ್ಯಾಸೂಚಕ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣವನ್ನ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳತೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಟ್ಟು ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ, ಸರಾಸರಿ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕಂಡು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆರ್ಡಿನಲ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಥಾನದರ್ಶಕ ವಿಧಾನ. ಈ ಸ್ಥಾನದರ್ಶಕ ವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣವನ್ನ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿದಾಗ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆಯನ್ನ ಸ್ಥಾನದರ್ಶಕ ವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಸ್ಥಾನದರ್ಶಕ ವಿಧಾನವನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ವಕ್ರರೇಖೆಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು. ಸಂಖ್ಯಾಸೂಚಕ ವಿಧಾನವನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಟ್ಟು ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ, ಸರಾಸರಿ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಆಧಾರವಾಗಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದೇ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ we have law of diminishing marginal utility that would be asked for 6 marks. Friends, please be very keen on this. Whenever the question you're answering 6 marks question, make sure if a law or a concept is asked, you write the statement first, the table, if at all, if it is necessary, a table has to be written and followed by a diagram and its explanation. So this would distribute 2 each marks for each of the content, 2 marks for statement, 2 marks for table, and 2 marks for diagram and its explanation. Very brief explanation for the diagram. So a law of diminishing marginal utility would explain that marginal utility starts diminishing as a consumer continuously consumes a good. That the same thing has been elaborated in the table. As you see, when a person starts consuming a particular good continuously, the total utility is increasing to an extent. It has become constant and later it reduces. The same trend would be followed by marginal utility. Initially, it would follow total utility. Then it starts decreasing. It becomes 0 and it becomes negative later. The marginal utility behavior depends upon the total utility behavior. The same is represented in the diagram. Initially, when the total utility starts increasing, marginal utility starts decreasing. When total utility becomes maximum, marginal utility becomes 0. 0 here when the marginal utility curve touches the x-axis, and when the total utility starts decreasing, marginal utility becomes negative. So this is also could be used to explain the relationship between TU and MU as such. So why this happens is because as the consumer starts consuming, the additional utility what he consumes for every additional unit of good starts diminishing. ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭೋಗಿ ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ಬರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರತಿ ಘಟಕದ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ಇಳಿಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಇಳಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. And the next, as I told you, the ordinal utility analysis, the important concept is indifference curve analysis. And when it is asked for 4 marks, usually we expect a student to write a definition, define what is an indifference curve, and explain the same with the help of a diagram. An indifference curve represents the different combination of 2 goods which gives the same level of satisfaction. Here, there are combination of goods that is available for consumer. For example, let us take food and shelter. There are A, B, C, and D. There are 4 combinations, 4 different combinations yielding different level of same level of satisfaction to the consumer. When the same thing is plotted over here on the graph, we get the indifference curve, and there are two combination L and combination K. Combination L is said to be beyond the indifference curve. It is called to be the superior bundle, which is above the available indifference curve, and K is considered to be the inferior bundle available to the consumer. Any point on the indifference curve would give the consumer same level of satisfaction. ಈ ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ವಕ್ರರೇಖೆಯ ಮೇಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಯಾವುದೇ ಬಿಂದು ಅನುಭೋಗಿಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ರೇಖೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಬಿಂದುಗಳು ಅದು ವಿಭಿನ್ನ ರೀತಿಯ ತೃಪ್ತಿಯ ಮಟ್ಟವನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ರೇಖೆಗಳ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳು. The features of indifference curves, mostly asked for 6 marks. Here there are 3 main important features of indifference curves. One is they are downward sloping from left to right. The indifference curves slope from left to right. Higher indifference curves gives higher level of satisfaction, and no two indifference curves will not intersect. Let us examine what does it mean. When I say the indifference curve slopes from left to right, why it is so? That is because of marginal rate of substitution, and more particularly, it is because of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Here, when we have a movement from point C to A, we have to give up certain portion of one commodity to get additional portion of the other commodity. So the change in Y and the change in X, the ratio of the change, we call it as the slope of the indifference curve, and it diminishes as we go down. That is, we have to give up more and more Y to get more and more X. So that is why the slope turns out to be in negative terms. So this is called diminishing marginal rate of substitution. That means we are substituting one good for the other. The second character or the feature of indifference curve is that higher the indifference curve, we have the higher satisfaction level. This is also called as monotonic preference. That also indicates that, see, there are 3 indifference curves here. I see 1, 2, and 3. When you are looking into indifference curves here, you have got a combination of A, B, and C. Out of these 3, combination C gives us the higher level of satisfaction. Though we are consuming the same level of mangoes, the amount of bananas consumed are more, if you can observe here. So at least, though on an indifference curve, if we get one good extra compared to though the other good is kept constant, we call the same to be a consumer having monotonic preference. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಏಕತಾನಾತ್ಮಕ ಒಲವು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಲವು ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭೋಗಿಗೆ 2 ವಸ್ತುಗಳಿದ್ದಾಗ, ಅನುಭೋಗಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅವನು ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಪಡೆಯುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭವನ್ನ ಏಕತಾನಾತ್ಮಕ ಒಲವು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಫೀಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಅನ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್, ದಟ್ higher the indifference curve, higher the satisfaction. Lower the indifference curve, lower will be the satisfaction. The third important character of the indifference curve is that indifference curves do not intersect each other. See, if you can see, there are 2 indifference curves here, one with pink and one with blue line. Now IC1, let us name it as IC1 and IC2. If you can compare above the point E, this portion of the indifference curve, we can find that the blue IC is higher. That means the blue IC gives more satisfaction. But when you consider the part below E, you consider this, and we can find there are 2 indifference curves. Before we said that this IC is giving higher satisfaction, but here it is giving the lower satisfaction because this is lower than the pink one or the IC2. So in this situation, if we find the points on the IC curves, see, when we observe IC1, we find E and A. These 2 points should give us the same level of satisfaction. If we observe IC2, E and B should give the same level of satisfaction. See, we call this as rule of transitivity, wherein if A is equal to E and B also is equal to E, then A should be equal to B, which is not true here. ಈ ಎರಡು ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಈ ಮೂರು ಬಿಂದುಗಳು, ಈಗ IC1 ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಎ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಎರಡು ಬಿಂದುಗಳಿದೆ, ಈ ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಸಿಗಬೇಕು, ಒಂದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ತೃಪ್ತಿ ಸಿಗಬೇಕು. IC2 ಅನ್ನ ಗಮನಿಸಿದಾಗ ಇ ಮತ್ತು ಬಿ ಇಂದ ಒಂದೇ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿ ಸಿಗಬೇಕು. ಹಾಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಎ ಇಗೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಿ ಕೂಡ ಇಗೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಎ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಿ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಅಥವಾ ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ವಕ್ರರೇಖೆಗಳು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಛೇದಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇವೆರಡರಿಂದನೂ ಒಂದೇ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಿಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ this condition is not possible. That's why we conclude that indifference curves should not intersect each other. Now for 1 marks it could be asked like what is in map, indifference map. So indifference map is nothing but a set of or a group of indifference curve is termed to be indifference map. If there are more than one indifference map, we term it to be if there are more than one indifference curve in a given graph, we call that to be indifference map. Now we have two more important concepts, budget set and budget line. These are the basic things which would take us to the further analysis. Budget set is nothing but a combination of two goods which a consumer would buy with a given income. See, you observe an equation here. Here, M is nothing but the given budget. See, for example, if we have 100 rupees with a consumer, that 100 rupees is represented by this M. Using 100 rupees, if you can buy some quantity of X and some quantity of Y or good 2, good X1 is first good, X2 is the second good. If you can buy these two goods with the given prices, the summation of these two should be equal to or less than the given budget. This gives the expenditure of the consumer and this gives the budget of the consumer. So the expenditure of the consumer should be less than or equal to the budget of the consumer. If you represent the same equation on the graph, we call that as budget line. So for example, if you have 40 rupees with you and if price Y would cost 8 rupees per unit and price X cost 4 rupees per unit, if you spend the entire income of 40 rupees to buy Y, you can buy 5 units of Y. So that is represented by point A here. And if you use the entire 40 rupees to buy good X, that is given by point B. If you join these two, you will get the budget line BA. So this is how we arrive at the budget line. Now, a budget line or the budget set are we talking about is subjected to some changes, can change at a given time or given reasons. The two main important reasons why the budget set may undergo the change is the income of the consumer and the price of the consumer. So when the income of the consumer changes and the price of the goods changes, there will be change in the budget set also. ಆದಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುಭೋಗಿ ಆದಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆದ್ರೆ, ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಗಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. Now let us see how it happens. If there is a decrease in the price of X, see this is the original budget line. Let us assume BL1 is the original budget line. And if there is a decrease in the price of X, if price of X decreases, we can buy more of X, right? So then what happens is the budget line shifts outwards, it swings outwards, so that we have second budget line, the new budget line here. This happens when we have decrease in the price of X. Now, if the price of X increases, we will be able to buy less of X. So the budget line swings inwards. Now we have a new budget line, that is BL3. So alongside, if there is increase in the income of the consumer, so this is the original budget line. If the income of the consumer increases, the budget line shifts to right, like this, because when the income increases from 40 to 80, we can buy more of both the goods. Clothing and food can be bought more. So the budget line shifts up towards right. And if the income of the consumer reduces, the budget line shifts down or towards left of the original budget line. That's because when the income shifts from 40 to 20, we'll be able to buy less of clothing and less of food. That's why the budget line shifts down. Now, let us understand about the slope of the budget line. The slope of the budget line is given by the ratio of change in y to change in x. So let us understand that any slope is measured by the raise and the run ratio. Raise is the vertical distance, run is the horizontal distance. For example, we were here x1 at x2 at the first point. Now we are at the second point. Now second point, we can observe that there is a change in the element here. Earlier it was x1 and x2 coordinates, and we have delta x1 here and delta x2. That means we have got the change in the x1 and x2. The same change is given by the second point here. Now the slope of the budget line is measured by change in the good x2 by change in the good x1. So this also gives how much x2 we are giving up to get an extra unit of x1. ಈ ಬಜೆಟ್ ರೇಖೆಯ ಇಳಿಜಾರನ್ನ ನಿಷ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, x1 ನ ಪ್ರತಿ ಘಟದ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗೆ x2 ನ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ಈ ಒಂದು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಈ ರೇಖೆಯ ಒಂದು ನಿಷ್ಪತ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. How do we find it? It is through this equation. This is the earlier budget equation what I was talking about. Let us take the budget equation. And in this budget equation, we have added the second point. I mean to say, this is the first point and this is the second point. Where is the change in the goods used? The same is adopted here in the second equation. The change in the goods consumed is adopted along with the first unit of consumption. Now this equation represents P1 is the price of x1, x1 is the quantity of good x1, delta x1 is change in the x1. What changes have happened? It could be addition or reduction, and it also the same thing holds good here. P2 is the price of x2, x2 the quantity of good x2, and along with that the change in the quantity of x2. So the entire change in our consumption pattern again should be equal to m. Now we have two equations here. Let us subtract the second equation from the first equation from the second equation. So if you take out these two, we'll have, see, we are taking out P1 x1 part, P1 x1 part, P2 x2 and P2 x2. What remains is P1 delta x1 and P2 delta x2. The same thing is written here. M and M in these two equations gets cancelled. So we have retained 0 here. So we rearrange this. We get the same thing I have shown in the other slide here. By rearranging this, this was the last equation that we have got. Rearrangement will give delta x2. This small d is also nothing but delta, which measures the change. Delta x2 by delta x1 is the change in the ratio of consumption to the ratio of the prices of these goods. So this gives us the slope of budget line. And now the important concept here is consumer's equilibrium. The consumer would be in equilibrium where he should be able to get maximum satisfaction at the given level of income. So the maximum satisfaction with a given limited budget would be arrived at the tangency point of indifference curves and the budget line. How do we do it? We have to find the tangency of the IC curve and BL curve where the slopes gets equal. The IC curve slope is given by MUX by MUY, and the slope of budget line is, as we discussed, would be given by PX and PY ratio. See, this is utility ratio. It measures our satisfaction that we get out of 2 units. And here PX and PY is nothing but the ratio of the prices of 2 goods that we are consuming. So what we spend should be equal to satisfaction that we get. So this is given by the tangency of IC curve and the BL curve. So that would be the point where the consumer gets maximum satisfaction with the available budget. ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭೋಗಿ ತನಗೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಆದಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಬಿಂದುವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ಅಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಬಿಂದುವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆದರ್ಶ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅದನ್ನ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅದನ್ನ ಪಡೆಯೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ವಕ್ರರೇಖೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬಜೆಟ್ ರೇಖೆಗಳ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶಕ ಬಿಂದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದರ್ಶ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕಲಿ, ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 2 goods here, and we have 3 indifference curves. 3 ಮಟ್ಟದ IC ಕರ್ವ್ಗಳಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ಬಜೆಟ್ ಲೈನ್ ಇದೆ. Okay, PQ is the budget line. IC1, IC2, IC3 are the 3 indifference curves showing us 3 different levels of satisfaction. As a consumer, what we do is first we look into the maximum satisfaction. As I told you, maximum satisfaction will be given by the highest indifference curve. Highest indifference curve is IC3. We have point C on that. But we cannot choose point C to be the optimal choice because C is on the higher indifference curve, but it is beyond our budget. Budget line is here. It is beyond the budget line. That means we cannot afford to buy or we cannot afford to purchase the combination C, though it gives higher satisfaction. Let us talk about point B. Can we buy it? Yes, we can buy because that is affordable. It is on our budget line. But it cannot be the optimal choice because B is on a lower indifference curve compared to A. Okay, so out of these 3 combination, A is the optimal choice because A is on our budget line. That means we can afford to buy A, and also A gives the maximum satisfaction out of available choices. So this is a point where the indifference curve and the budget line are tangent to each other. And understand one thing, B is an intersection point of IC and budget line, whereas A is the tangency point. The optimal choice is always at the tangency, not at the intersection. Okay, so ಇಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಆಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭೋಗಿಗೆ ಆದರ್ಶ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಸಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಇಂದ ಹೊರಗಿದೆ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಲೈನ್ ಗಿಂತ ಮೇಲಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದು ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಕೊಂಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಿ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಂಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಲೈನ್ ಮೇಲಿದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ನಾವು ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭೋಗಿ ಕೊಂಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಕೂಡ ಹೌದು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವನು ಬಿಗೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಎ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭೋಗಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಅವನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀಡುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಟ್ಟದ ತೃಪ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅದು ಬಜೆಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಎ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದರ್ಶ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಒಂದು IC ಮತ್ತೆ BL ಕರ್ವ್ ನ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶಕ ಬಿಂದು ಏನಿದೆ ಅದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದರ್ಶ ಆಯ್ಕೆಯನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ಬಲ್ದು. ಅದು ಛೇದಕ ಬಿಂದು ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಛೇದಕ ಬಿಂದು ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ಛೇದಕ ಬಿಂದು, ಎ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶಕ ಬಿಂದು. ಸೊ ಈ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶಕ ಬಿಂದುನೇ ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದರ್ಶ ಆಯ್ಕೆಯ ಒಂದು ಮಟ್ಟ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Now, based on the indifference curve, how can we derive the budget or the demand curve? Based on the indifference curves, how a consumer can arrive at his own demand curve? See, we have different set of budget line and indifference curve here. As I told you, as we have point A in the previous diagram, we have C, D and 3 optimal choices. And if you draw the perpendiculars from the 3 choices, we get different kinds of or different amount of quantity demanded with a given different budget line. When you at the given prices and the given choices, if you draw the perpendicular lines, we can arrive at the demand curve of a consumer. These are the important concepts that you need to look into: the demand curve, law of demand, and demand function. See, demand curve is nothing but it's a graphical representation of amount of goods a consumer would be willing to buy at a given prices and income. The law of demand is nothing but it explains the inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded. That means when the price of a good goes up, the demand for a quantity demanded for a good comes down, and vice versa. Demand function is nothing but the functional relationship between quantity demanded and price, which is explained by Q is equal to F of P. The equation is not seen here. Now, let us understand the shifts and movement in the demand curve. There are chances where the demand curve, sometimes it shifts, sometimes there will be movement along the demand curve. See, when we are talking about the shift in the demand curve, it happens due to the change in income, taste, and prices of related goods. Movement in the demand curve can happen only due to the changes in the price of the good considered. Let us understand this in detail. See, when you're talking about the shift in the demand curve, it happens due to the change in the income of the consumer. Let us take other things being constant. Let us take income. If the income of the consumer increases, obviously his demand for goods also increases. This is the initial demand curve, and this is the rightward shift of demand curve due to increase in income. ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದಾಯ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾದಂತೆ ಅವರ ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯ ಕೂಡ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯ ರೇಖೆ ಬಲಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಪಲಟಗೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದಾಯ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದ್ರೆ, if the income of the consumer reduces, then there will be a shift towards left side. The demand curve shifts left to the original demand curve. ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯ ರೇಖೆ ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಅಥವಾ ಮೂಲ ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯ ರೇಖೆಗಿಂತ ಎಡಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಪಲ್ಲಟಗೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ ಆದಾಯ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದ್ರೆ. ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ದ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್. ನೀವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಗೆ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಏನು ಅಂತ. ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಇದರ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ ಟು ದ ರೈಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಕರ್ವ್. ಆದ್ರೆ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಲುಕ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್. ಒಂದೇ ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯ ರೇಖೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿಂದುಗಳು ಬದಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So idana we call it as movement, and this movement will happen only due to the change in the price of the given good. See, when the price of a particular commodity reduces, the quantity consumed increases. So this is only due to the change in the price of a particular product, and there will be a movement along the same demand curve. Here the demand curve will not change its position, only we will be moving along up or down along the same demand curve. So this is how do we get market demand? Can we arrive at market demand using the individual demand curves? Of course, market demand is nothing but the total quantity demanded in a market by all the consumers present in the market at a given price at a given point of time. The market demand curve is nothing but the graphical representation of the demand curve. So for example, let us assume there are 3 people in a market, person A, B and D. At price 15 for some good, person A demands 10 units, person B demands 20, and person D demands 30. So the total demand would be the summation of these 3 persons' demand. That is 20 plus 10 plus 30. We will be getting 60 here. Sorry, the addition is wrong here. The numbers are wrong. Kindly make a correction. So this adds up to 60. So that will be the market demand. Now, graphically, how do we arrive at this? See, this is the individual demand curves of 3 people. And now, at the price P1, a particular amount will be demanded by consumer 1. At the same price level, B will demand certain quantity. At a same price level, a person would demand a certain quantity. So here, the first A person is demanding F1 amount, B F2, and person C is demanding F3 amount at a given price level. Now at the same price level, if you add up the total demand of all the 3 people, we will get a quantity demanded in the market. So at this price level, this is the total quantity demanded. That is shown by point F on the given demand curve. Similarly, at different prices, what are the different total demand that we have in the market can be marked upon, and finally we will be arriving at the demand curve. This is what we call horizontal summation of the demand curve. Next concept would be the elasticity of demand curve, which would be mainly asked for 4 marks. This is a linear curve. Linear curve is nothing but the straight line demand curve. And in a given demand curve, we can identify the elasticities at different points. The middle portion, the midpoint of the demand curve would give us the unitary elastic. A point above at the end on the intercept of Y, we call this as intercept, which shows the maximum price that can be charged of a commodity, and a point A here on x-axis gives the maximum quantity demanded. So on the maximum point of intercept of Y, we have infinite elasticity of demand. On the intercept of X, we get the zero elasticity of demand. And between 1 and 0, we have elasticity would be less than 1. Between 1 and infinite, we'll have elasticity more than 1. That is, the elasticity will be relatively higher here. Here, the elasticity will be relatively lower. And elasticity is nothing but the percentage in demand due to the percentage change in the price. The same thing is explained through the point method or geometrical method here. See, the geometrical method is nothing but the ratio of lower segment of the demand curve to the upper segment of the demand curve. See, for example, if at all, if you are measuring the elasticity here, we'll take the segment of lower portion divided by the upper portion. For example, from here to here, let us assume it is 6 meters, or sorry, 6 centimeters. Now 6 centimeters, and this distance we shall consider it to be 1 centimeter. So 6 divided by 1. The lower ratio to the upper ratio, 6 by 1 is equal to 6, which will be greater than 1. The value of elasticity will be 6, and which is nothing but greater than 1. So we call the elasticity to be more relatively elastic. So the same thing is shown here. At point A, the elasticity will be greater than 1. At C, it will be less than 1. B, equal to 1. Here, because the lower segment distance will be equal to the upper segment, so 6 by 6 will be equal to 1. So that's how you can measure the elasticity through the point. This is called as point method of measuring elasticity, and it is introduced by Dr. Marshall. And we have conceptual differences here for 4 marks. It will be asked what are inferior goods and normal goods. See, when we are defining inferior goods, we have to relate the income of the consumer and the demand. ಕೆಳದರ್ಜೆಯ ಸರಕುಗಳು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅವನ ಆದಾಯವನ್ನ ರಿಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆದಾಯ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾದಂತೆ ಯಾವ ಸರಕನ್ನ ಕಡಿಮೆ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾನೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕೆಳದರ್ಜೆಯ ಸರಕು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. If a consumer buys less of a good when his income increases, we call such goods as inferior goods. But if you buy more and more of a good as your income increases, if you buy more of a good, you call that as a normal good. Examples given here for inferior goods are cereals. Actually, let me clarify a point here. We have been told that millets are inferior goods, but as of now, in today's world, we cannot consider millet to be the inferior good. In the real world, it is not true, because even as our income increases, we will buy more of millets. ನವಣೆ, ಸಜ್ಜೆ, ಈ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯಗಳು ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕೆಳದರ್ಜೆಯ ಸರಕುಗಳು ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವೊಂದ್ಸತಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಕೊಡೋದಿದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅದು ನಿಜ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇವಾಗ ನೀವು ಗಮನಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆದಾಯ ಇರುವಂತವರೇ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯಗಳನ್ನ ಬಳಸುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಕೆಳದರ್ಜೆಯ ಸರಕುಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರೆಯುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅಷ್ಟು ಸಮಂಜಸವಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅನ್ಸತ್ತೆ. When it comes to the normal goods, inferior goods examples are here: cereals, unbranded food packs, canned or frozen packs. ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ inferior goods ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So if your income is high, you will not buy such goods. If your income is lower, you will prefer to buy such goods. And normal goods are anything that we buy in our routine life. So as we have more income, we prefer to buy more of them. They are nothing but the daily routine using foods, staple foods, clothing, household appliances. And the difference between substitutes and complements, I think this is quite easier. Any good that is used together while consuming or to satisfy a single want, if you have two goods together, which you consume them together, we call that as complementary good. And if you substitute one in place of the other, we call it as substitute good. That means the goods which we don't use it together, we call them as substitutes. Goods which we don't consume together, they are called substitutes. For example, Kindle book and the printed version, we can't use them together. Two toothpicks cannot be used together. Vicco or Dauber or Vicco or Colgate, we cannot use two toothpicks together. So that's why they are called substitute. We can use one in place of the other. Complementary goods are those goods which are used together to satisfy a single want. For example, printer and computer. So they are the complements. The classic example is bread and jam, which you use together. So let us move to the chapter 3, production and costs. So production and cost, these are the important concepts that you need to look into. Again, as we had in utility analysis, in production analysis also, we have 3 important concepts: total product, average product, and marginal product. Total product is the summation of marginal product. Average product is the output produced per unit of labor. Marginal product is nothing but additional output per additional unit of labor. So, and the formulas are accordingly given here. The average product is nothing but the total product divided by the unit of labor used. Marginal product of a labor is nothing but total product of that unit minus the total product produced by the previous unit of labor. You have isoquant curves, sama utpanna rekhegalu. Isoquant curves are the curves which represent the same level of production with the given two inputs. See, we have two inputs here, or factors of production as we call them, capital and labor. Given these two inputs, we can produce different combinations of output. But when you have certain output, same output level being produced by different combination of inputs, we call that curve as an isoquant curve. It is similar to that of indifference curve in consumption. It is isoquant curve in production. Higher the isoquant curve represents the higher level of output production. So coming to the cost concepts, the cost concepts can be divided into two different segments, the short run cost and the long run cost. Short run costs include total cost, total variable cost, total fixed cost, and average short run average cost, short run average variable cost, and marginal cost. In the long run, the only difference is we will not have the fixed cost in the long run. Wherever we have fixed cost, that analysis to be considered as short run, because in the long run we can change all kind of technology that we are using in the production process. So no cost remain as fixed. So everything would be a variable factor in the long run. So with this table, we can also we can also find out few cost concepts and their calculation methods. See, we have one 6 marks question on this. There are one 6 marks question that's been asked on calculation of cost. See, you have been given SMC, that is short run marginal cost. It's been given, and they would have given total fixed cost also. The fixed cost remains the same throughout the production process. And now here we need to, based on these two information, we have to calculate the total cost. How do we do it? As I told you, total cost is nothing but the summation of total cost is a summation of marginal cost here. So fixed cost, as you start production, if not anything, you'll have fixed cost. Let me give you some example for fixed cost. It could be like buildings, rent, what you pay, the electricity charges, what you pay. These are the fixed costs. See, because what happens is as you start production, though you're not producing anything, though you're not running the business, you have to pay the rent for the building that you have taken on rent. Still you have to pay the electricity if you have taken the electricity connection. So that's add up to the fixed cost. So if at all, if there are no other production costs, the company has to bear the fixed cost. So the total cost will be equal to fixed cost at the initial stage of production, right? The next is when you produce the first unit of output, the additional cost for producing this one would be 500. So the fixed cost remains the same as I told you. So the total cost will be the total fixed cost plus the additional cost that has come up by producing one more unit. So that is 100 plus 500 will give us 600. Likewise, you can calculate 600 plus 300 gives us 900. 900 plus 200 will give up 1100. Likewise. Then variable cost can be calculated by taking the difference between total cost and total fixed cost. We know total cost and total fixed cost. So out of total cost, if you minus total fixed cost, you get the total variable cost. So 600 minus 100 is 500, 900 minus 100 is 800, likewise. Now the average cost can be calculated by the total cost. Total cost divided by the unit of production or the output level gives us the average cost. So this is 600 divided by 1. Total unit of production you need to take. So that is 600. Again, 900 divided by 2. The total cost of producing 2 units is 900. That means how much it will cost per unit? Per unit it will cost 450 rupees. Likewise, it goes on. Average variable cost is total variable cost divided by the unit of production. 800, so 500 divided by 1, 800 divided by 2, likewise. Okay, so this is how you need to fill this table, and if you can work on this table, you will get golden 6 marks on this. To understand the cost curves, see, based on this, we can also draw the cost curves. As I told you, the total fixed cost and the total variable cost curves. Total fixed cost remains fixed in the short run. It will be constant irrespective of the output production. See, this is x-axis represents the output, y-axis represents the cost. As you go on increasing the production, the fixed cost remains the same. It remains constant. So that's why it appears to be a horizontal line parallel to x-axis. Now the variable cost increases as you produce more and more units. See, the one best example for variable cost could be the employee's salary. If you increase the production, it means to say you need to employ more people. If you employ more people, their salary amount or the cost on incurring on their salary also goes up. So naturally, the variable cost increases at a different rate. Of course, it depends on what rate of production that you're carrying on. So the summation of FC and VC, that is variable cost and fixed cost, give us the total cost curve. If you can observe, the total cost is following the nature of the variable cost, because as we know, the fixed cost remains the same. What changes the total cost is the variable cost. So that is why the total cost curve takes the shape of the variable cost curve. Coming to the other curves, as you see, the marginal cost curve initially declines, reaches the minimum, and then starts raising. That means to say, even in fact, for all the cost curves that you see here, whether ABC, AFC, or average total cost, all the curves, if you see this portion, the left portion of the curve, they are all decreasing initially, reaches a minimum, and then it starts increasing. So why this happens? That's because initially when you start increasing our production, the cost comes down. After a point, your costs will be minimum. That is the economical point of production. And after that, the cost starts rising. So because of this, the shapes of the curve becomes U-shape, nearly U-shape. So this is about the short-run cost curves. You just need to understand the cost curves and their shapes. Now, in the long-run cost curve, what happens here is, even here it is U-shaped curve. This is long-run average cost curve and the long-run marginal cost curve. Now, you see there's an intersection point here. This will be the equilibrium output at the long run produced. The output, the level of output produced to the left of this will have the marginal cost lower compared to the average cost. That is, per unit of production will be higher than the additional unit of production. So that is why the company starts producing more and more. And the point where it reaches the marginal cost to be equal to average cost, that will be the maximum profit earning, or let us see about profit maximization in next slides. That will be the optimum output our company can produce. If it produces beyond this, production of each unit of output will be more. That is, marginal cost increases more than the average cost. Additional cost of producing one unit will increase more than the per unit of production. So that is why the company might not choose to produce this. So this is the area of decreasing decreasing returns and increasing cost. This is an area of increasing returns and decreasing cost. This is the area of constant cost. And the long run curves are more flatter compared to the short run curves. If you see, the short run curves are very sharp and very sharp in terms of their shape compared to the long run. Long run curves are, we also call these curves, long run cost curves, as envelope curves, because they contain the short run cost curves in them. They envelope, they'll consist of short run cost inside them. So because of that, they're called as envelope curves. Next, the law of variable proportions, which is asked for 2 marks. As I told you before, any 6 marks question should have a statement, table, under diagram to be explained. Law of variable proportions is nothing but a stage, or it represents where the marginal factor marginal product of a factor initially increases, reaches the maximum and decreases. You have a table, and this law can be explained completely through this table. See, we have two factors of production here, capital and labor. Capital is kept constant. Labor, there are changing units. We are changing the labor units. Why one factor is kept constant is because, as this is a short run phenomenon, we cannot change the entire factor of production altogether. So we keep one factor as constant, only we vary the one available factor. Let us consider labor is changed here. The units of labor employed is changed. So with this given set of inputs, the total product of the firm increases. We can see it has started from 0 to it has increased to 57. Continuously there is an increase. At the outset, we think total product is increasing, but the real condition could be explained only by the average product and the marginal product of the labor. See, as you go on employing more and more laborers, the total product may increase, but the average product, that is per unit production by the labor unit, it starts decreasing. It increases initially, of course, then it starts decreasing. And the marginal product, that is additional output produced by an additional employment, that is when there were two employees, total output was 24. The per unit production was 14, and the additional unit was 12. Right. So like this, if you can just observe the same thing is represented in the graph. The marginal product initially increases and starts declining later. The same thing is represented in the graph also. Initially, the total product increases, reaches the maximum, and it starts decreasing. Marginal product increases, reaches 0 when the total product increases to the maximum point. The marginal product reaches 0, and total product reduces. Marginal product becomes negative. ಬದಲಾಗುವ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳ ನಿಯಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಒಂದು ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ ಇದ್ದು ಮತ್ತೊಂದನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಶ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿ ಬಂಡವಾಳನ್ನ ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ ಇಟ್ರೆ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಉತ್ಪಾದಿಸಬಹುದಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಹೆಚ್ಚುವರಿ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ ಮೊದಲು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ನಂತರ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ರನ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ನ ನಾವು ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಒಂದು ಟೋಟಲ್ ಒಟ್ಟು ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾದಂತೆ ಕಂಡ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಅದರ ಹೆಚ್ಚುವರಿ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ನಿಯಮ. Next important question that we have is on the returns to scale. Returns to scale has three stages of returns. One is increasing, constant, and decreasing returns to scale. Okay, so the increasing returns is nothing but, see, this is basically explained based on the production function. Production function is nothing but the relationship between output and inputs. Let us say there are two inputs, X1 and X2. Let us say that X1 is labor and X2 is capital. Using capital and labor, certain amount of labor and capital, we are producing certain amount of output. So that mathematically we can express it as Q is equal to F of X1 and X2. If both factors are increased by T, let us assume that the production function has increased by T, then what happens if the increase in output is more than the increase in input? That means the T times increase in output produced by labor and capital is more than the amount of labor and capital that has been given for the business or adopted in the business, then we call that stage as increasing returns. So increasing returns is a stage where the increase in output is more than increase in input. Likewise, the constant returns is a stage where the increase in output due to increase in input is equal to one another. Decreasing returns is nothing but increase in output will be lesser than increase in input. So these are the different stages of production that we can identify. Of course, this could be done in the long run analysis. So this comes up to the end of the third chapter. Let us move to the fourth chapter, theory of firm under perfect competition. See, this being one of the important chapters for examination, there are many concepts and diagrams need to be understood from this chapter. See, when we come across market structure, there are 4 different kind of important market structures. One is perfect competition, monopolistic, oligopoly, and monopoly. If you can see the scale, here we can find perfect competition on one edge and monopoly on the other. See, these 2 competitions are considered to be the most unrealistic competitions. That means we cannot find the purest form of perfect competition or purest form of monopoly in the existing world. Okay, so at this market structure scale, we can see the other 2 ones, monopolistic and oligopoly competition. So these are the competitions which are little realistic to the or which are realistic, which appears in the realistic world. Perfect competition is the most competitive market, and monopoly being one seller market, it is the least competitive market. The competition will be very less in the monopoly because there will be only one seller. So we can also say that there is no competition in monopoly at all. But under imperfect competition, we can categorize monopoly, oligopoly, and monopoly to be the one segment. So let us start the perfect competition, understand perfect competition and their features. If you like to define what is perfect competition, it is a market with large number of buyers and sellers selling homogeneous product. A homogeneous product is nothing but the identical product. That's why I said that this kind of competition is hard to find in the real world, because you cannot find a competition where you have large number of buyers and sellers selling the same kind of products. But nearly perfect competition, we can name, or we can take flowers and fruits market to be the perfect competition markets as an example for the perfect competition market. The main important features of perfect competition markets are, as I told you in the definition itself, you have 2 features. It has large number of buyers and sellers, and it produces homogeneous products, that is identical products. Then firms are price takers. Price takers is nobody in this particular perfect competition can determine the price of a product. Only the demand and supply conditions in the market would define the price, and of course no single seller can determine the price here. Whatever the market prices, existing prices in the market would be taken as the price for the product. And there will be free entry and exit. That implies that nobody can stop a person entering into the perfect competition, and nobody can make a person to exit a market. If at all, if a seller is happy with the existing price, he'll enter the market. If at all, if he is not happy with the existing prices, he'll exit the market. And all the people in the market, whether it buyers, sellers, both are aware of the information about the market conditions. That's why we say there's perfect information in the market. And if at all, if there has to be a profit maximizing condition, there are 3 main important conditions of profit maximization. That is where the price of a product should be equal to its marginal cost, and the marginal cost should not be decreasing at QO, that is, this is equilibrium output. You also term it as non-decreasing at QO. And P, or the price, should be more than the average variable cost in the long run, in the short run, and average cost in the long run. So what it is, what does it mean? Let us examine one after the other. Let us take one diagram and understand these conditions now. See, in this diagram, the condition, first and the second condition of profit maximization can be understood. See, the first condition, it says price should be equal to marginal cost. The price is, this is the marginal cost curve. We have already seen why it decreases initially, it reaches minimum and then it raises. See, the price level, OP price level, cuts marginal cost at 2 different points, A and B. That means price is equal at A and price is also equal at B. Now, which should be the profit maximization condition? Should be at A or should it be at B? Now, to maximize profits, should a firm produce at Q1 or it should be producing at Q4? This is the question. The answer for this question is the second condition, wherein it says MC should be non-decreasing. Non-decreasing means it should increase, right? It implies the MC should increase. Now at point A, MC is decreasing. So this is obviously not the equilibrium output. The MC is increasing only at B. It is increasing at B. It is decreasing at A. So we are not supposed to produce here. We are supposed to produce at B. So it is this point, and the corresponding output level is Q4, which is considered to be the profit maximizing condition. So at B point, P is equal to MC as well. MC is at the rising point and it is not at the decreasing condition. Why is it so? Because see, if a firm starts producing at A, if you observe, if you start producing further also, the output increases with a reduction in cost. The cost is decreasing here. So any rational producer would definitely try to increase his output with a reducing cost. So till when he'll increase or when he'll continue to produce, he'll continue to produce till his marginal cost cuts the price again at the rising point of time. So this is how we determine B to be the optimum choice for a producer to profit maximization. And the third condition was a P should be more than or equal to SAVC. Okay, that is short run average variable cost. Now you have three curves here. One is SMC, AVC and SAC. See, AVC is also included in SAC. That is average variable cost is also included in the short run average cost curve. This is total cost, average cost curve. This is average variable cost. This curve shows how much every unit of production of an output cost. Okay, so now given the price level OP, at this price level, we can see there's a point here wherein the price level intersect MC curve and SAC curve. It is marked as point A. So this point is a point wherein you can determine the equilibrium or the profit maximizing condition of a firm. Why? Because it is at this point that price is equal to MC. That's the first condition. Second condition, MC is at the rising level. Third condition, price is greater than or equal to SAVC. The price level is greater than AVC, right? AVC is here, price is here. So it is greater than AVC and or equal to. It can be here or it can also be further up, right? At least the variable cost is covered in the short run. So till then, the firm starts producing and the firm continue to produce and earn maximum profits at this condition where P is equal to MC. Second condition, MC is at raising and P is more than or equal to SAVC. Now, how to determine the short run supply curve? The short run supply curve is always determined based on the MC curve. Why is it so? See, when a firm starts producing or when it has to make its production decision, it has to decide what will be the cost of additional cost of production for the additional unit that is produced. That is shortly saying it should think about its MC. So as long as MC, the price level gets equal to MC and beyond, it starts producing. The production will be carried on along with the MC curve as long as the price is more than the average variable cost. That is why the point from where the average variable curve cuts or the SMC curve cuts the average variable cost from below, from this point to the rising portion of the short run marginal cost curve, we consider it to be the supply curve of the firm. And as we also know that price is nothing but the average revenue for the firm. So here at this point, from this point, the average revenue would be increasing with the increasing cost of production as long as the price is more than ABC. So because of this, and also as it produces more and more, every additional unit of SMC will add up to the increased supply. So that is why, because of this, we can identify the supply curve of a firm with the rising portion of the SMC curve above AVC. The same is also true with the long run curves. So long run marginal cost curve itself would be the supply curve of the firm in the long run. The market supply curve, market supply curve is nothing but a graphical representation of the total market supply of a quantity in a particular market, and this is a 6 marks question. As we all know that at certain prices, a particular producer would be willing to produce and supply the good. Now at P1, the producer 1 is ready to supply from at the P1 price level, so that represents the S1 supply curve. So this is the supply curve of the first firm. There is supply curve of the second firm, wherein this, if you can observe, the second firm is not willing to supply at price level 1. So his choice is price 2. So given his own cost condition, he will decide at what prices he will start the production and supply to the firm. So naturally, he has started producing at P2. So this S2 will be the supply curve for the second firm. So the summation of these two would be the market supply curve. At price 1, this will be the supply extent. At price 2, this will be the total market supply of the given market. Now, when it comes to the determination of supply curve, there are 3 important elements which define or determine how much the supply of a good would take place in a given market. Those important determinants are: one is technological progress, second thing is the unit taxes and the input prices. The technological progress refers to the kind of technology and the improvements in research and scientific methodology that has been adopted in production process that increases efficiency. So as technological progress increases, the supply of the firm also increases because it implies the efficiency. And when it comes to the second determinant is the input prices. Input prices, if it increases, the cost of production increases. Input prices are nothing but price of capital and labor. If it increases, naturally the cost of production increases. That's why the supply curve shifts left or it comes down. The amount of supply comes down. The third factor which determines the supply curve is the unit tax. Unit tax is the tax imposed per unit of production. We also call it as production taxes. So because of the unit tax imposition, the cost of production would definitely go up. So naturally the production would reasonably reduce. You have one more concept that is break-even point and shutdown point asked for 2 and 4 marks. Basically, you need to know the definition and the diagram. See, break-even point is at that point where the price level will be such that MC will be minimum at AC. That is at this point where the MC curve touches the AC curve at minimum point, we call this level to be break-even. At this point, the firm's revenue, the average revenue of the firm would be just equal to its AC. So that per unit revenue will be equal to per unit cost. There are no question of profits here. So that's why that will be the break-even point. Okay. Next, we have one more concept called shutdown point. That is nothing but it is that price level where the intersection of MC will be at minimum of ABC. That it at least the average variable cost of production per unit is covered here at this point, which is referred to as shutdown point. A firm, if the prices come down below this, that is P1 is a shutdown price here, where MC is equal to the average variable cost and the price is also equal to average variable cost. That means a firm is earning so much of amount by selling 1 unit, wherein its per unit cost is covered. That is, at least they'll have that amount of money coming in where they can pay the salaries for their employees. If the price come down below this point, then the firm has to shut down. So that's why this is identified as a shutdown point. So here we come close to the microeconomics part. So I leave the floor for discussion on this. Any doubts or comments are welcome.
Yes, thank you for Dr. Wonderful presentation for the part A, the first chapter to up to fourth chapter. Dear participant, this section anybody can be doubt. Please chat for inbox. If a few minutes or 5 minutes, it is a discussion in the break time. For that first chapter to fourth chapter, the part A, introduction of microeconomics. The second unit, the theory of consumer behavior, and the third unit, the production and cost. Fourth unit, the theory of perfect competitive market of the firm. So these are 4 chapters. Anybody can be doubt. Please chat in box. Yes, so let me join for Hanumanthu, sir. This is the first chapter to highlights.
ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು.
Yes, sir.
ಮೊದಲನೇ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪಾಠದ ಹೆಸರು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪರಿಚಯ. ಈ ಪಾಠದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು 8 ರಿಂದ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ವರೆಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕೇಳಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ. 8 ರಿಂದ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ವರ್ಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪಾಠದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮತ್ತು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವ್ಯಾಖ್ಯಾನಗಳು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸರಳ ಆರ್ಥಿಕತೆ ಹಂಗಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಸಹಿತ ವಿವರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇದನ್ನ 6 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂಕಗಳ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಡೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಉತ್ಪಾದನಾ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ರೇಖೆ, ಇದನ್ನ 4 ಅಂಕಗಳು ಅಥವಾ 6 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತಹ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಆರ್ಥಿಕತೆಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು, ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತ ಭಾಗ. ಸುಮಾರು 4 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅರ್ಥವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಹಂಗಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಮತ್ತು ಅರ್ಥವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯ ವಿಧಗಳು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ, ಮಿಶ್ರ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ, ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಅರ್ಥವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ 3 ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಅರ್ಥವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮತ್ತು ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಯ ಅರ್ಥವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವೆರಡನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕವಾಗಿ 6 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಮುಂದೆನೂ ಕೂಡ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ವಾಸ್ತವಿಕ ಮತ್ತು ಮಾದರಿ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಗಳ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸಗಳು, ಮತ್ತು 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗೆ ವಾಸ್ತವಿಕ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅಂದ್ರೇನು, ಮಾದರಿ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅಂದ್ರೇನು, ಮತ್ತು 4 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗೆ 2 ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸಗಳು. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪಾಠದಲ್ಲಿ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸುಮಾರು 8 ಅಂಕಗಳು, ಗರಿಷ್ಠ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ 10 ಅಂಕಗಳವರೆಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರುವುದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದಂತ ಈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಈ ಮೂಲಕ ತಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
Thank you, Hanumanthu sir. I will discuss on for the second unit, the theory of consumer behavior. In the part of exam point of view, this chapter asking the 20 to 28 marks. This is the largest chapter in the microeconomics. Second unit ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, the theory of consumer behavior. ಈ chapter exam point of view ನಿಂದ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಲಾರ್ಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್. ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ನೀವು ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ the concept of so madam is already told us simple language ಬಹಳ ಸರಳ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಯಾವ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಿನಿಸಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ, ಇಳಿಮುಖ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ನಿಯಮ, ಇದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಅದನ್ನ ಕಲಿಕೆ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಲರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಂತೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಿನಿಸಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ, ದ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಆನ್ಯುವಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ರಿವೈಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ರಿವ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಿನಿಸಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ನೋಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ದ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ದ ಥಿಯರಿ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಬಿಹೇವಿಯರ್. ನಾನು 5 ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. 5 ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಿನಿಸಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ, ಇಳಿಮುಖ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ ನಿಯಮ, ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಅನಲೈಸ್, ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ವಕ್ರರೇಖೆ ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್, ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ವಕ್ರರೇಖೆ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಟು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್. ಇನ್ನು ಮೂರನೇದಾಗಿ ನೀವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ನೀವು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ, ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ 1 ಅಂಡ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ 2 ಇಂದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಬ್ರು ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಎ ಅಂಡ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಬಿ ಅಂತ. ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ನ ನೀವು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಫಾರ್ ಈಸಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್, ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವರು ವಿವರಣೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವ್ದಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್, ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಚಲನೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಪಲ್ಲಟಗಳು. ಸೊ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಏನಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಎಡದಿಂದ ಬಲಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಳಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ಡೌನ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್. ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆಯ ಪಲ್ಲಟಗಳು, ಯಾವಾಗ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವಾಗ ರೈಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ದ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ದಿ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್, ಇನ್ಫೀರಿಯರ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ when consumer income is increases, the demand for goods is also increases, therefore the demand curve shift toward right side. ಅನುಭೋಗಿ ಆದಾಯ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾದಂತೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸರಕುಗಳ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಆಗ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಬಲಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಥಾನ ಪಲ್ಲಟಗೊಳ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ವೆನ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಸೈಡ್, ಯಾವಾಗ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಎಡಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಥಾನ ಪಲ್ಲಟಗೊಳ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್, ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಗುಡ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ಫೀರಿಯರ್ ಗುಡ್ಸ್, ಕೆಳ ದರ್ಜೆ ಸರಕುಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುಭೋಗಿ ಖರೀದಿಸುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಈಸ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಸೈಡ್, ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಎಡಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಚಲನೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ 2ನೇ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ರಿಪೀಟೆಡ್. ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಿನಿಸಿಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ, ಇಳಿಮುಖ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ತುಷ್ಟಿಗುಣ. 2ನೇ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಅನಲೈಸ್, ಔದಾಸೀನ್ಯ ವಕ್ರರೇಖೆ ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ. 3ನೇ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್, ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ. 4ನೇ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ದ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್, ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಚಲನೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಥಾನ ಪಲ್ಲಟ. ಇವು 5 ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡೆಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ದ ಆಪ್ಟಿಮಲ್ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್, ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದರ್ಶ ಆಯ್ಕೆ. ಬಜೆಟ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಲೈನ್ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಆಪ್ಟಿಮಲ್ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ನೀವೇನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಆಪ್ಟಿಮಲ್ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ get maximum satisfaction to the available of this income. ಸೊ ಅವನ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಗರಿಷ್ಠ ತೃಪ್ತಿನ ಪಡಿಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ದ ಆಪ್ಟಿಮಲ್ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್. ಸೊ these are all contents in discussion the unit 2, the theory of consumer behavior. This is the point of view, exam point of view. Also to learn this the theory of consumer behavior is the question paper set, the maximum question rise in annual examination for this chapter. ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ಯುವಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇನ್ನು 3ನೇ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್, ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ವೆಚ್ಚ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಐಸೋಕಾನ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದಟ್. ಸೊ ಸಮ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ ರೇಖೆಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಸಮಾನ ರೇಖೆಗಳು ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಏನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ರನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ರನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟಸ್, ಅಲ್ಪಾವಧಿ ವೆಚ್ಚಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ದೀರ್ಘಾವಧಿ ವೆಚ್ಚಗಳು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ ದ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಆಲ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ವೇರಿ, ಹೌದಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಪಾವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಆದಾನಗಳನ್ನು ಬದಲಾಯಿಸಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ ದ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ರನ್ ಆಲ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಕೆನ್ ಬಿ ವೇರಿ, ದೀರ್ಘಾವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಆದಾನಗಳನ್ನು ಬದಲಾಯಿಸಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿದೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇನ್ನು ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೊ ಎರಡು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಒಂದು ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನ್, ಬದಲಾಗುವ ಪರಿಮಾಣದ ನಿಯಮ, ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಸ್ಕೇಲ್, ಪ್ರತಿಫಲಗಳ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದ ನಿಯಮ. ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 3 ಟೈಪ್ಸ್, IRS, CRS, DRS. ಏರಿಕೆ ಪ್ರತಿಫಲಗಳು, ಇಳಿಕೆ ಪ್ರತಿಫಲಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಳಿಮುಖ ಪ್ರತಿಫಲಗಳು ಅನ್ನುವಂತ 3 ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, 3 ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಆ 3 ಹಂತಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನ್ಸ್ 6 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್, ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ TP, AP ಅಂಡ್ MP, ಟೋಟಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್, ಅವರೇಜ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್, ಒಟ್ಟು ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ, ಸರಾಸರಿ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ, ಅದು ಮಿಡ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಟರಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಆನ್ಯುವಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಓರಿಯೆಂಟೆಡ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, TP ಟೇಬಲ್, TP, AP, MP. ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಓರಿಯೆಂಟೆಡ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೂಡ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನೀವು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ TP, AP, MP ಕೂಡ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದೇ ಟೇಬಲ್ ನ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನ್, ಬದಲಾಗುವ ಪರಿಮಾಣದ ನಿಯಮ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ 6 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್, ಅದು ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ರನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 7 ಕಾಸ್ಟಸ್, TFC, TVC, AFC, AVC, SCSC ಅಂಡ್ SCMC ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಟ್ಟು ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಒಟ್ಟು ಬದಲಾಗುವ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಒಟ್ಟು ಸ್ಥಿರ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಸರಾಸರಿ ಸ್ಥಿರ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಸರಾಸರಿ ಬದಲಾಗುವ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಅಲ್ಪಾವಧಿ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಅಲ್ಪಾವಧಿ ಸರಾಸರಿ ವೆಚ್ಚ ಅನ್ನೋಂತ 7 ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಾಗ ಒಂದು ರಿಲೆವೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ನಾವು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 2 ಇಯರ್ ಆನ್ಯುವಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಈಗ SMC ಒಂದು ಟೇಬಲ್ ನ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು 1-2 ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, TFC ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್, TC ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್, AFC ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್, ABC ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್, SMC ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ನೀವು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಾಗ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಒಂದು ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾಗಳನ್ನ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ TC ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ TFC ಪ್ಲಸ್ TVC, AFC ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ TFC ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ Q, AVC ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ TVC ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ Q, SMC ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ TC ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ Q, SCSC ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ TC ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ Q ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ತುಂಬಾ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದು ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 4 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, 6 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ನೀಟಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ ನಾವು. ಇನ್ನು ಲಾಂಗ್ ರನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟಸ್, ದೀರ್ಘಾವಧಿ ವೆಚ್ಚಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 2 ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ರನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟಸ್. ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ LRAC ಅಂಡ್ LRMC, ದೀರ್ಘಾವಧಿ ಸರಾಸರಿ ವೆಚ್ಚ ಮತ್ತು ದೀರ್ಘಾವಧಿ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ವೆಚ್ಚ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ 2 ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಗಳು ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ದೀರ್ಘಾವಧಿ ಸರಾಸರಿ ವೆಚ್ಚ ಮತ್ತೆ ದೀರ್ಘಾವಧಿ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ವೆಚ್ಚಗಳಿಗೆ 2 ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಯು ಶೇಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ AC ಕರ್ವ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ MC ಕರ್ವ್ಸ್, ಸರಾಸರಿ ವೆಚ್ಚದ ರೇಖೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೀಮಾಂತ ವೆಚ್ಚದ ರೇಖೆ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಯು ಶೇಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ನೀವು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ನೀಟಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಗಳು ನೀವು 3ನೇ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ನೀವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಥಿಯರಿ ಆಫ್ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಹೈಲೈಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಓದ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ ಸರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸರ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಡ್.
ಕನಿಷ್ಠ 7 ಅಂಕಗಳು, ಗರಿಷ್ಠ 10 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಸರಿ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಅಧ್ಯಾಯ 4 ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಪೈಪೋಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉದ್ಯಮ ಘಟಕದ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂತಹ 4ನೇ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಕನಿಷ್ಠ 7 ಅಂಕಗಳು, ಗರಿಷ್ಠ 10 ಅಂಕಗಳವರೆಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆಯನ್ನ ಗಮನಿಸಿದಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯ ಅರ್ಥ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಪೈಪೋಟಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳು, ಇದು 4 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆ. ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಪೈಪೋಟಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. 4 ಅಂಕದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಆದಾಯದ ವಿಧಗಳು, ಆದಾಯ ಅಂದ್ರೇನು, ಆದಾಯದ ವಿಧಗಳು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತ ಟಾಪಿಕ್. 6 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಇದು, ಆದಾಯ ಮತ್ತು ಆದಾಯದ ವಿಧಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಲಾಭ ಗರಿಷ್ಠತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ ಷರತ್ತುಗಳು, ಇದನ್ನು 4 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದು. ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಲಾಭದ ಗರಿಷ್ಠತೆಯನ್ನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಷರತ್ತುಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅನುಸರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಉದ್ಯಮ ಘಟಕದ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ರೇಖೆ, ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ 4 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದದ್ದು. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ರೇಖೆಯ ನಿರ್ಧಾರಕಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಲ್ಪಾವಧಿ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ರೇಖೆ, ಸ್ಥಗಿತತೆಯ ಬಿಂದು, ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಲಾಭ, ಸಮಭೇದ ಬಿಂದು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ 3 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಸೇರಿಸಿ 6 ಅಂಕಗಳ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಸದಾವಕಾಶ ವೆಚ್ಚದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ 2 ಅಂಕ ಅಥವಾ 4 ಅಂಕಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ 6 ಅಂಕದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಬೆಲೆ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಸ್ಥಾಪಕತ್ವ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಅದರ ಸೂತ್ರಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ 2 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಈ ಪಾಠದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪ್ರಾಮುಖ್ಯತೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹದ್ದು ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಪೈಪೋಟಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಉದ್ಯಮ ಘಟಕದ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ರೇಖೆಯನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ನಿರ್ಧಾರಕಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸ್ಥಗಿತತೆಯ ಬಿಂದು, ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಲಾಭ, ಸಮಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಬಿಂದುಗಳು ಅನ್ನುವ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಗರಿಷ್ಠ ಲಾಭ ಗಳಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ಅನುಸರಿಸಬೇಕಾದಂತಹ ಷರತ್ತುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡುವುದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಉದ್ಯಮ ಘಟಕದ ಅಲ್ಪಾವಧಿ ರೇಖೆಯನ್ನ ರೇಖಾಚಿತ್ರದೊಂದಿಗೆ ವಿವರಿಸಿ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ರೇಖೆಯನ್ನ ರೇಖಾಚಿತ್ರದೊಂದಿಗೆ ವಿವರಿಸತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಒಟ್ಟು ಆದಾಯ ಮತ್ತು ಸರಾಸರಿ ಆದಾಯದ ರೇಖೆಗಳೊಂದಿಗೆ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಪೈಪೋಟಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯ ಉದ್ಯಮ ಘಟಕವನ್ನ ನಾವು 6 ಅಂಕಗಳ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಓದ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿ 7 ರಿಂದ 10 ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳುವುದರಿಂದ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಪೈಪೋಟಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ, ಉದ್ಯಮ ಘಟಕದ ಅಲ್ಪಾವಧಿ ಪೂರೈಕೆ ರೇಖೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಪೈಪೋಟಿ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉದ್ಯಮ ಘಟಕದ ಸರಾಸರಿ ರೇಖೆ ಮತ್ತು ಒಟ್ಟು ಆದಾಯದ ರೇಖೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಈ ಪಾಠಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೂ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉತ್ತರಿಸುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಮತ್ತು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅಂಕಗಳನ್ನು ಗಳಿಸುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Thank you, Hanumanthu sir. Madam, let me continue for the part B, macroeconomic analysis, especially national income accounting and money and banking. ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ವರಮಾನದ ಲೆಕ್ಕಾಚಾರ, ಹಣ ಮತ್ತು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕೋದ್ಯಮ ಅನ್ನೋ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವೆರಡು ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮನ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಫಾರ್ ಮೇಡಮ್. ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮೇಡಮ್.
Thank you for briefer, and let us continue. So I've been told to cut down on chapters in the part B. It's like we shall discuss the most important chapters, national income and money and banking, with the available little time. And somebody had asked about what are the chapters that are important in part A. As I already told you, it is perfect computation and as well as the consumer behavior. Kindly concentrate on these two. And for project-based questions, I think we need to meet live so that we can work out and then explain. Okay. Hopefully the time permits. Let me begin chapter 2 in macroeconomics. The second chapter, the most important chapter in macroeconomics, the most biggest and the widest chapter is this. Okay, so that is national income accounting. So these are the main concepts of national income accounting. And here we can find that we will be asked for 1 or 2 marks. This chapter, please remember that it is important for even the concepts as well as for the descriptive questions. Idu 1-2 marks igu important hagagi mattu descriptive 6 marks and 4 marks kuda ee chapter ninda ಹೆಚ್ಚು questions baruva ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಗ್ರ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ try to concentrate both on this national income and money and banking. These are the 2 two important chapters from this section. So final goods and intermediate goods, the differences between these two is that, see, final good is something which is not used for the production process, but whereas intermediate goods is something which is used for the further production process. That is, example, raw cotton. Okay, see, goods which are not used in any further production process is like, vegetables or pen or book, whatever is there, they are ready to use. They are final goods. Raw cotton, which can be used as an intermediate good for the production of other commodities, like the fabrics, that is called intermediate goods. Now the consumer goods and the capital goods. Consumer goods are basically the ready-made goods which are used for the final consumption and the satisfaction of the consumer wants, whereas the capital goods are the goods which are used by the producers in further production process, like machinery. Okay, so the difference between intermediate and capital, both are used in the production process. The basic difference is capital goods are used again and again in the production process, but the intermediate goods is used at once for all. Okay, once used, it cannot be used again in the same production process. Then the difference between stock and flow. Stock refers to any economic variable's value at a given point of time. Flow refers to time periods. Okay, see, ದಾಸ್ತಾನು ಮತ್ತೆ ಹರಿವು ಅನ್ನೋದು ತುಂಬಾ ಸತಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದಾಸ್ತಾನು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಚಲಕಗಳ ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಸಮಯದ ಒಂದು ವಿವರಣೆ. Okay, for example, how much money we have today at this point of time is a stock. What is the stock of rice in the godown right now is a stock. Flow ಅಥವಾ ಹರಿವು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎರಡು ಕಾಲ ನಿಯಮಗಳ ಅಥವಾ ಎರಡು ಕಾಲ ಬಿಂದುಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ವಿವರಣೆ. ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಚಲಕಗಳ ಎರಡು ಕಾಲ ನಿಯಮಗಳಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ವಿವರಣೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ, ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ, we count it from 1st of April to the March 31st in a given year. So this is the one financial year, right? The financial year starts from 1st of April and it continues till March 31st. So this is the flow period or flow concept when it refers to two time periods. So that's the difference between stock and the flow. And now so here is the final goods and the intermediate goods. Example for final goods and the intermediate good. It's the fabric. If it is, see, this can be used for further preparation of the shirts. 2 marks questions is like, methods of measuring national income or GDP. It could be, there are 3 basic methods of measuring national income. One is expenditure method, product method, and income method. Okay, these are the 3 methods of measuring national income. ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಆದಾಯವನ್ನ 3 ವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳಿತೀವಿ: ವೆಚ್ಚ ವಿಧಾನ, ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ ವಿಧಾನ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಆದಾಯ ವಿಧಾನ. ವೆಚ್ಚ ವಿಧಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ವೆಚ್ಚಗಳ ಒಟ್ಟು ಮೌಲ್ಯ. ಓಕೆ, ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ವೆಚ್ಚ, ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ಸೇರಿ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನ ವಿಧಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಅವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲಾ ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಮೌಲ್ಯ. ಆದಾಯದ ವಿಧಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ವೇಜಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಓಕೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ರೆಂಟ್ ಪೇ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ಉತ್ಪಾದನಾಂಗಗಳಿಗೆ ಬರುವಂತಹ ಆದಾಯ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು, ರೈಟ್? ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಗೆ ರೆಂಟ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲೇಬರ್ಗೆ ವೇಜಸ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್, ಮತ್ತೆ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಭೂಮಿಗೆ ಗೇಣಿ, ಶ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ wages, then interest, of course it is ಬಡ್ಡಿ, profits it's ಲಾಭ. So idishtu the total amount of all this income sources together adds up to the national income at the income method, under income method. Okay, so now here in this diagram towards your right side, we can observe the same thing, same methods observed in the can be observed in this diagram. See, this is also called as the circular flow of income. There are 2 forms here, 2 aspects. One is firms and households. See, if you can see that firms are supplying goods and services to the households. The manufacture goods and supply goods and services to the households. Households in turn supply the factor services like labor to the firms. And firms using the labor, it gives the factor payments. It gives wages to the households. Because they are using the labor services, wages are given. So they are the factor payments. Okay. And using that income, households will spend and buy the goods which are produced by the firms. Now, the expenditure is shown by the segment A. Whatever the household spends, okay, is shown by the expenditure segment A. B explains the goods and services, that is the product method of measuring national income, product method, and C would be the income method, the factor payments made by the firms to the households. And now there is a question asking all the three methods of measuring national income gives the same results. How? Okay, ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೂರು ವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳತೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಆದಾಯ ಒಂದೇ ಮೊತ್ತವನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. This is for 6 marks. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, let us take a table and let us take two firms example here. Firm 1 and firm 2. One selling rubber as intermediate good, and firm 2 using that rubber and manufacturing tires and selling. Okay, so now let us understand this. The intermediate good value, intermediate good, they have already told you, it is there the raw material. Rubber, this firm doesn't have to pay anything because it has the intermediate goods. With that assumption, we shall start with the example. And the firm 2 buys from firm 1, so it pays 1,000 rupees for the rubber. Now the sales of that, see, it has paid 1,000 rupees to firm 1. So out of the sales, it has got 1,000 rupees, right? The same thing, but that firm sells, prepares the tire, manufactures the tire using the rubber and sells it for 5,000 rupees. Okay. Now this 5,000 is the product value which is sold in the market. That is the market value of the good that is sold in the market. So that becomes the expenditure method. Okay, if somebody buys 5,000 rupees worth of tire from firm 2, then the GDP value will be 5,000 rupees because that is a GDP in the expenditure method is nothing but arriving at all the expenditures made. So firm has made an expenditure by selling. It will get 5,000 rupees by its output. So then the value addition for this is nothing. Here firm 1 has no addition for the intermediate good, so there is no value added here. But the cost of raw material was 1,000 rupees and the end product price was 5,000. So the firm 2 added value to the raw rubber or intermediate good to worth of 4,000 rupees. So the total value addition in the economy is 5,000, 1,000 plus 4,000. So that ends up in product method, where there is value addition from raw material to the final product. And when it comes to the income, okay, income method, I told you it is the addition of all the wages, rent, interest, and profit earned in an economy, right? So here, firm 1 pays these 200 for wages, 300 for rent, 250 for interest, and 250 for profit. So this amount is paid by firm 1 for its employees, and the rent for that building, the interest on its borrowed capital, and the profit earned for its entrepreneur. So likewise, even the firm 2 also spends the likewise amount. So if you add up, this comes up to 4,000 rupees and this comes up to 1,000 rupees. The total value of the income generated in the economy is 5,000 rupees again. Okay, so even through measuring national income through income method will give us the same 5,000 rupees. So with this example, we can say that you measure national income in any of the method, but the end product will be the same. That's why all three methods measure the same national income and gives the same results. Then you have two more concepts here, GDP at MP and GDP at FC. GDP at MP is nothing but, as I told you, if you buy a laptop from a market paying 75,000, that is the market price of that particular product. Likewise, any good that is produced in the market and you're buying that from the market. Adding up all the value of such final goods gives the GDP at market prices. Then GDP at factor cost is GDP measured in terms of cost that you have incurred on employing the factors of production, land, labor, capital, and organization in producing that particular market valued products. Okay, so now GDP at MP is calculated with C plus I plus G X minus M. This means consumer expenditure, investment expenditure, government expenditure, income from exports, and payments made to imports. So payments we made it for other countries, so it's outgoing. So we have minused it. Exports received will get us, fetch us money. So we have added the income from export. This is the net income from exports and net expenditure that we have made on exports and imports. We have one more concept like GDP deflator. So GDP deflator is nothing but the ratio of nominal GDP and real GDP. So now what is this nominal and real GDP? Nominal GDP is nothing but which is measured at current year prices. At present year, whatever the prices we have, so that is what we call nominal GDP. The real GDP is nothing but measured at the base prices. The same is explained here in this example. Then we have a concept of externalities. Externalities is of two types, positive and negative. Externalities are nothing but the benefits a firm would cause on the other. For example, see, if you the metro work is going on. So metro work, during the metro work, we have a lot of glitches like traffic jam and cutting of trees. So they are the negative effects of construction of metro. But because of metro, once the metro is done, it reduces traffic, it saves time. These are the positive effects. So whatever the positive effects happen, they are nothing but the positive externalities. Any negative externality resulting out of an economic activity, we call it as negative externality. So externalities are basically the benefits or harms, positive and negative effects of an economic activity caused by a firm on the other. And we have one more 6 marks question, which is considered to be most difficult. See, we have to explain the unplanned accumulation and unplanned decumulation. Now let us understand what is accumulation and decumulation. Accumulation is nothing but increase in the stock of inventory. What is inventory? Inventory is the stock of goods from past year to the present year. See, for example, here, if you observe this table, see, in the previous year, let us say take in 2018, a company had a stock of 100 shirts with it. It had already had 100. So in this year, in the present year, let us say we are in 2019, and this year we expect that at the end of the year, after all the production is done, of the sales is done, company is expecting that 100 shirts will remain in the stock. Okay, so but the current year's production, let us say it goes up to 1,000, and actual we have produced 1,000 shirts, but actually how much we were able to sell? We were able to sell 600. So what is remaining? 400. We were expecting that 1,000 shirts will be sold, but we thought we could sell only 600. So the difference is 400. So in this year, 400 shirts remained in our stock. And we expected that only 400 shirts will remain. But instead, how many remained? 400. So the total stock went up to 500. 400 of this year and 100 of the previous year. So because of this, our final inventory went up to 500 shirts. So this is increase in the stock of inventory. It was 100 before. Now the inventory has increased to 500. So this is the increase in the stock of inventory. Likewise, even there is decumulation. Decumulation is reduction in the stock of inventory. Previous year it was 100. This year, after the end of the sale, only 50 shirts remain. But we were expecting that the 100 shirts remain at the end of the stock, but only 50 remain. So this is the stock of inventory has decreased than our expectation. So because of this, why it happened like that? In the current year, we had production was 1,000, but actual sales went up 50 extra. So because of this, only 50 remained with us. So this is what we call it as decumulation, reduction in the stock of inventory. It can be planned or unplanned. This is unplanned. The company could not know what would happen. But sometimes deliberately company plans and maintains the desirable inventories. Okay, so that is what is explained here in this. Here, the same thing as we had previously, we had 100 and we expected 200 shirts would remain. So at the end also 200 shirts remain at the end of the stock, end of the year. This is planned accumulation. We have expected that inventory will go up and inventory has gone up by 200. Here, decumulation means reducing the inventory deliberately. So we had a previous stock of 100. So we thought we will expected decumulation will be 100, but it reduced to 50. That is, there has been the reduction in the inventory stock than expected. So this happens, and this happens through a planned investment mode. So this is what we call it as planned decumulation and accumulation. See, can we use GDP as a measure of welfare? Welfare means it's the a very multi-dimensional concept having economic, social, political, and psychological aspects. If all these aspects of life are good, we call then it to be a condition of welfare. It is overall well-being. Okay, it's a multi-dimensional concept. But GDP, no, it measures only the economic aspect of welfare. Okay, it is only the single dimension aspect. So hence GDP cannot be used as a measure of welfare. Okay, so why is it so? What are the reasons? Because distribution of GDP is not the same. See, welfare means everybody has to be happy, everybody has to be feeling fine. Okay, but this will not happen unless there is equal distribution of GDP. That means nobody no distinction between rich and poor, no inequalities in society. And see, GDP may increase also due to increase in prices. If just there is increase in price or what we call inflation, because of that also the value of GDP may go up. Okay, but just because GDP has gone up due to inflation, we cannot say there is real increase in GDP. That is just the nominal increase. Okay, so this increases the income inequalities, and larger portion of national income is shared by 90% of the income is shared by 10 people, and 10% of the population shares the 90% of the income. Okay, and so this is what is like, you know, we have 10% of the rich people sharing huge amount of resources of our economy, and major 90% of the people have to share the 10% of the resources. Okay, it is just like giving one apple and asking 10 people to share, or giving one person 10 apples. So there is income disparity. So because of this unequal distribution of GDP, we cannot call GDP to be the welfare measure. And of course, in the calculation of GDP, there are many non-monetary transactions that left out. Because see, when our mother takes care of us when you're not well, you will not pay for her. So that is non-monetary transaction with our mothers. Every day she cooks for us, we will not pay the bill. But when you go to a hotel, you pay the bill. When you are hospitalized, you are taken care there also, you'll pay the bill. But household work is not considered, which has the value. Just imagine if you don't have a good mother, or like, sorry, I mean to say good household condition to work and to be efficient, right? See, when you have a good condition at home supporting your work, then you can work better, your efficiency goes up, your income goes up. When you don't have anybody at home to take care, and everything you pay through monetary transaction outside, then your cost of working will also go up, right? So in calculation of national income, there are many non-monetary transactions. Okay, like household work, there are informal sectors. Most of the villages or tribal areas, still today we don't have monetary transactions. People will not use money for their transactions, most of the cases. Those transactions are not included in national income calculation. So that is why we have underestimation of GDP, that is national income. So because of these reasons, the GDP cannot be the only measure of welfare. And finally, as I was talking about externalities, see, when there is a positive externality, it increases the value of GDP. But when there is a negative externality, it decreases the GDP value, but it is not taken care. But as I told you, when there is a metro work going on, there are chances wherein people will have to undergo the health hazards, or there is an industrialization because of which there are a lot of industries coming up. It creates pollution and it makes the industries richer, but people around unhealthier. So because of this, people will become unhealthier, population will lose its health aspects, and it also has a negative cost on economic economic activities. So because of these reasons, uh, the negative externalities bring down the GDP, which is not taken into the cost of negative externalities are not taken into account in calculation of GDP. So that's why GDP cannot be used as a measure of welfare. Okay, and in this chapter, the major identities that you need to remember is GDP, what the concepts, what are GDP, their meaning, and their calculation methods. See, GDP is nothing but the total value of all the goods and services produced in an economy in a given year by both its citizens and non-citizens. See, and a GNP is a measure of value of goods and services produced by only a country's citizens, but both domestically and abroad. The difference between both is GDP measures the product value of production within the economy, within the geographical boundaries of our country. GNP includes the income from abroad also. That is a difference between GDP and GNP. We have a new concept introduced from 2017 by Central Statistical Organization, sorry, 2015. So it says gross value added. GDP is now measured in GVA terms. That means the value of final product is taken into consideration by lessing out or by negating the value of intermediate consumption. That is, value of intermediate goods are taken off. Okay, so now the basic prices are nothing but the amount received by the producer from the purchaser, and here the taxes are taken off, subsidies are added on. If you say a laptop costs you 50,000, then the actual cost of the laptop without the tax would be 40,000. So that is a basic price. Okay, that includes the subsidy on production of laptop, but it will not include the tax on the product. But that is the actual amount that a producer uh, gets from the purchaser. This is what you call it as a basic price. And let me skip this. Okay, see, national income aggregates, as I was telling, the national income identities, they are measured likewise. GDP at market price, MP is market price, FC is factor cost. Market prices is nothing but if you buy any value that you pay at the market and buy a product. Okay, if you pay 100 rupees for shirt, that means the market price of that shirt is 100 rupees. Okay, so the gross value of all the goods and services produced in an economy in a year with the market based on the market prices is, as I told you, C plus I plus G x minus M. Why is this? Because if I spend, that becomes income for somebody else. It is my expenditure equal to others' income without any leakage. That means whatever I spend will go to the other person without any deductions. GDP at factor cost is nothing but GDP empty. From that, we will take out the net indirect taxes. Why we are taking out indirect taxes is we are finding the national income based on the factor incomes. Factor incomes are nothing but land, labor, capital, and organizations income. That is wages, rent, interest, and profits. So GDP measured through this income, it is measured based on the value of the goods minus the indirect taxes, because the factor cost will not include the indirect taxes. That's why we are taking off here as minus. Then NDP is the net concept of GDP. If you take out the GDP depreciation cost from GDP, you will get the NDP. Depreciation is nothing but the wear and tear charges or the maintenance cost, what you call. The same thing has to be taken out from gross value to get the net value. And the NDP-FC can be calculated based on GDP GDP-MP minus net product tax. Product tax is the indirect taxes what is imposed per unit of a product sold or produced. Okay, net production taxes on the total volume of production, the tax imposed on the total volume of production, like you have land revenues. So all those things, that effect has to be taken off. Product tax is sales tax, is an example for product tax, excise tax. So such taxes effects has to be taken off. Then GMP is nothing but, as I told you, GDP, what we have produced inside the nation plus net factor income from abroad. If a person from India, an Indian working somewhere in Germany, earns income and that comes to India, that will be added here under GNP. Okay. Next, GNP MP at NNP MP is nothing but GNP minus depreciation. See, one thing you have to consider here is any net concept here. When you say net national product, the depreciation has to be taken from the gross national product. That has to be understood. The same is also true with the NNP. Now, GVA at MP, that is gross value addition at market prices, is nothing but GDP at market prices. Gross value addition at basic prices is nothing but GVA at MP, market prices. And from this, we are taking out the net product taxes. The unit taxes are taken off from the market prices. We get the basic prices. This is basic prices are nothing but the national income calculated only based on the amount what a producer receives from the purchaser. That is why we are taking off the product taxes effect here. The same is true with the GVA at the factor cost. We are taking out the effect of net production taxes from the basic GVA basic prices. Next, let me just start with the money and banking chapter. The key concepts here are the functions of money. The important questions that could be asked is basically the on functions of money. And let me say, money is anything which is generally accepted as a medium of exchange by people, and it has got two different kind of functions. One is primary and the other is secondary. Primary function has two categories. Medium of money is used as a medium of exchange or measure of value. Secondary function as standard of deferred payments and store of value. Now, when you're asked for 2 marks, they will ask write any 2 functions. So you can write any of these 2. There are 4 functions here. You can write any 2 of these. If they specifically say write primary functions, then you have to write medium of exchange and measure of value, and likewise the secondary functions. Now, what does medium of exchange means? Means money is used to buy goods and services. It's a medium or a measure through which we exchange goods and services. It's a measure of value means the money is used to measure the value of a good. Because if you, for example, if you buy a pen at paying 50 rupees, the value of that pen is 50. So money shows the value of a good or a service that you are paying for. That's why money is termed as a measure of value. Then standard of deferred payments. Deferred payments is delayed payment. See, more or less money retains its value though the payments are delayed. Why it has happened, or why money is accepted as a standard of deferred payment? Because it has general acceptability. Everybody accepts money. If I show 10 rupees from Kashmir to Kanyakumari or Gujarat to Assam or the Nagaland, anybody in India has to accept that. So currency notes have a general acceptability. Rupees have general acceptability in India. So that character of money makes it as a standard of deferred payments. It is durable, and as I told you, it's a store of value. Means 100 rupees more or less has the same value for the days to come also, and present day also. So this is the most easiest way to and convenient way to store. And value remains relatively constant. So that is why the value of money relatively stays constant. So that's why we consider money to be the standard of deferred payments. Money has overcome the drawbacks of barter system. This has been asked for 6 marks. How does it happen, or why does it happen? Because see, it removes the difficulty of double coincidence of wants. See, in barter system, a good is exchanged for a good, right? So in that sense, when you are exchanging a good with other person, you both should have the same want at the same time, which is very difficult to happen. But that is not necessary with the money. If you have money, you can buy any good or any service, provided it is saleable, produced and supplied. And money is a unit of measurement of value. You can divide the money into divisible units. See, if you buy 1 pen for 10 rupees, and if you buy a pencil for 5 rupees per unit, you can exchange 2 pencils for 1 pen. So that's how you can measure a value of 1 unit with the other unit. As I told you, it has got general acceptability. It is convenient to store and use. And you don't have to have a really a big place or time or energy. You don't have to spend on storing money. So it is economical in storage means, and it is possible to have a deferred payments. You can delay the payment and pay, still the value of the money continues to be more or less the same. So because of these characteristics, money has overcome the drawbacks of the barter system. Now, why do we need money? Demand for money. Okay, why do we need money? It is for two reasons. One is for the transaction motive, and the second is speculative motive. Transaction motive is everyday buying and selling of goods. Speculative motive is investing in bonds like property, shares, golds, like that. So for these reasons, we need money. Under transactive motive, even precautionary motive is also included. Precautionary motive is an amount of money that we keep up for emergency purposes. Now, coming to the legal definitions of money, let us understand what is money supply means. Money supply is nothing but the stock of currency and coins in circulation with public like us and in the banks. So that is what we call it as money supply. So time deposits means fixed deposits that we have in any financial institution with a given return and a given period of maturity time period. Fiat money is something, a money which is assured and issued by the financial authority like RBI. So the rupee coins, the coins and the currency notes, what we are using, they are called fiat money because that's been issued by RBI and approved by the government. So that's why it's called as fiat money. Legal tender is no one can refuse to accept it. That is like, see, 1 rupee coin is a legal tender, 10 rupees is a legal tender. The currency issued is legal tender, but there was a time where we used to use non-legal tender, like 5 paise, 50 paise and all that. If you take 1 rupee coins, anybody has to take it. Any amount you take it, they have to take it. They cannot refuse. They cannot say we cannot accept it. But if you take 50 paisa coins, they can say we cannot accept it because that is non-legal tender. So legal tender is something nobody can refuse to accept. The money supply components has M1, M2, M3 and M4. These are also called the legal definitions. M1 is nothing but it represents the currency with the public, that is we people, and demand deposits with the commercial banks. Demand deposits is nothing but savings bank account that we have with the commercial banks. M2 is nothing but the M1 money plus the deposits what people have with the post offices. Okay, so both together constitute M2. What is M3? M1, that is people currency with the people and banks with the net time deposits with the bank. Net time deposits with the bank means the time bonds, the fixed deposit that bank has with it. That is what we call the time deposits with the bank. Bank will have time deposits as in some other banks also. People will have deposits in the bank. Banks also will have deposits with the another bank. So here in this M3, we consider only the time deposits what people have with the bank, not the bank's deposits with other banks. So that is why we call it as net time deposits here. Then the last one is M4. It is nothing but M3 plus time deposits with the post office, here excluding national saving certificates. Now, the liquidity concept is it could be asked for 1 mark. What is liquidity? Liquidity is nothing but the availability to spend. The M1 is out of M1, M2, M3, and M4. M1 is most liquid, that it is ready to spend. M4 is least rigid. It is highly rigid to convert it to liquidity. It has got least liquidity because time deposits, the other deposits are very difficult to withdraw and convert it to ready to use method. So that's why M4 is the highest, toughest or least liquidity concept. M1 is the most liquid concept. And M1 and M2 are called narrow based. M3 and M4 are called broad based money. And you have also a question on high powered money. High powered money refers to the currency with public and commercial banks. Why it is called high power money? Because it is the monetary aggregate of credit creation. That is, the entire credit creation depends upon this high powered money. So that is what you call it as high powered money, the money with the public and the banks. Now, liquidity trap, it's a concept the important concept left over here in this chapter. The liquidity trap is nothing but it's a situation where people will not like to spend or invest, but instead they will hold the cash with themselves. Okay. Irrespective of the rate of interest and irrespective of the speculative mood. So this is what we call it as liquidity trap, which can be explained with this example. So this is the supply of money. And here, this red line, dotted line shows the rate of interest. The rate of interest will not fall beyond this, and here the demand for money will not go down beyond this. This is what this concept is to be identified as the liquidity trap. Here, the liquidity would be trap. People would like to hold money rather than investing here. Okay. So now the next important concept we have is functions of RBI. It is most repeated questions. In most of the question paper, it is the most repeated question. So kindly bear attention to this. Functions of RBI, it issues currency. It acts as a banker to the bank. As we have commercial banks, RBI acts as a commercial bank to the government. Then it acts as a banker to the banks. It also finances and lend loans to the banks. And it is a lender of last resort. If any of the banking financial institution has some difficulty, it will go to the RBI and RBI help it to come out of it. We have been seeing there are last acquisitions and there are many banks that are being merged with together in order to escape the loss and to function and help the people with their transaction. So that's how the RBI acts as a lender of last resort. The controller of credit, RBI controls the amount of credit or quantity of supply of money in the economy through this BR, CRR, SLR, and OMO. Let me explain that in the next slides. And it acts as a custodian of the foreign exchange. RBI preserves the foreign exchange reserves that India has. Every country will have the foreign exchange reserves with its central bank, and it uses in the international trade. So RBI oversees, controls, and supervises the foreign exchange in India. So that's why it acts as a custodian of foreign exchange. Now, the money supply is controlled out of two methods. One is quantitative tools and qualitative tools. Quantitative tools include bank rate, cash reserve ratio, statutory reserve ratio, and open market operations. Open market operations are carried over by repo rate and outright repo. Qualitative measures to control money supply is moral suasion and marginal requirement. See, bank rate is nothing but the rate at which RBI gives loans to the commercial banks. The cash reserve ratio is nothing but out of the total deposit, every commercial bank has to maintain certain amount of its total deposits with the RBI as a security deposit. So that is what we call CRR. SLR is statutory liquidity ratio. Out of total deposits, a part of banks in deposits, a part of it has to be kept as a reserve within the bank itself. That is what we call SLR. Open market operations is nothing but RBI selling or purchasing bonds, government bonds in the open market. Okay, so now how does it happen? How does it affect the money supply? That's explained here. If bank rate increases, commercial banks lending rate of interest also goes up. So the loans becomes costlier, the rate of interest goes up, loans become costlier, people start buying less loans, so money supply will be reduced. Same way, if CRR and SLR are increased, the commercial banks will be left with less money to give loans. That's why money supply will be reduced. The OMO, open market operations, if at all, if the RBI has to increase the money supply, the RBI buys government bonds from the market. So it buys the bonds and release the money to the market. If it has to decrease the money supply, RBI sells the bonds and withdraws the money from the economy. And talking about the credit creation, see, credit creation happens based on the money multiplier concept. It is nothing but, see, if money multiplier is calculated 1 over CRR, that is cash reserve ratio. If money multiplier value is 5, that means if you inject 100 rupees, 100 crores or 100 rupees to the market into the money market, that multiplies into the money multiplier effect. So it has the effect of 5 times, that is 100 into 5. So it creates 500 rupees worth of money supply. 100 rupees introduced, money multiplier value is 5, so 100 into 5 will be 500. So this is how the money multiplier process works. So this is how the money multiplier process works and creates, how does it creates deposits, how does it creates reserves, and how many rounds it takes to create 100 rupees to become 500. That's been given in this table. And now finally, demonetization concept. We all know it was introduced by our Prime Minister in 2016 on November 8th to withdraw, mainly to control corruption and back money in the economy, to control inflation, avoid tax evasion, escaping to pay the taxes, and to digitize the transparent transactions. So that's why they withdrew 1,000 rupees and 5,000 rupees currency notes, and they introduced new 2,000 and 500 rupees notes. And what were the demerits of this? Demerits were there was a acute shortage of supply for that short run span of time, and there was short-term disturbance in the economic activities. People were in confusion, business enterprises were in confusion without knowing what to do, and because people had to stand in long queues to draw the money, limited money from the ATM, so it caused a lot of inconvenience for the public. So these are the demerits that that we experienced due to demonetization, but its effects has had a larger time, long run effects are expected to be both. It was a mixed effect that an economy experienced because of this experiment. So here we conclude. So in this chapter, these were the main highlights. In part B, kindly look into money and banking and national income accounting. These are the two chapters which you can have more questions expected for the final examination. Due to the lack of time or the shortage of time, I was not able to explain everything what I had planned for. So thank you for your kind listening. Over to Arun sir.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಸುದೀರ್ಘವಾಗಿ ನಡೆದಂತಹ ಚರ್ಚೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಬಹಳ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಉಪಯುಕ್ತವಾದಂತಹ ಹಲವಾರು ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನ ಒದಗಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರಿ. ಅವರು ಅತಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅಂಕಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಕಾರಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಮಾಹಿತಿ. ಸುದೀರ್ಘವಾದಂತಹ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 2 ಗಂಟೆಗಳ ಕಾಲ ದೀರ್ಘವಾದಂತಹ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಮಂಡನೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು. ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಇದನ್ನ ಸದುಪಯೋಗವನ್ನ ಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿಯೂ ಸಹ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಅವರ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUC ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅಂಕಗಳನ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ 100ಕ್ಕೆ 100 ಅಂಕಗಳನ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಒದಗಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ತುಂಬುವುದಿಲ್ಲದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ದೀಪಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ. ಕೊನೆಯ ಅಂತಿಮ ಘಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಪ್ರಾಚಾರ್ಯರು, ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ನ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಗಳು ಆಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ DR ರವಿಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಉದ್ದೇಶಿಸಿ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ಒಂದು ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸುದೀರ್ಘವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಬಹಳ ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾದಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇದು. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ PU ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಮಂಡ್ಯ, ಹಾಗೂ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ V ದೀಪಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ PU ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಹೊನ್ನಾವರ ನಾಗಮಂಗಲ ತಾಲೂಕು, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಆಯೋಜಕರು ಅಂದರೆ ಸಂಚಾಲಕರಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರು ಆದಂಥ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅರುಣ್ ಸರ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಅವರು, ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಅವರ ತಂಡ ಏನಿವತ್ತು ಸುನಿಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ರೇವಣ್ಣವರಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್ ಸರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ವಿಭಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸುಧಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಭಾನು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಸುಮಾರು 1 ವಾರಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸಲ್ಲುತ್ತದೆ. ಬಹಳ ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಘಟನೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಸದಸ್ಯರುಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ವೀಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಸದಸ್ಯರುಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಸುದೀರ್ಘ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಾನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಎರಡು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗಮನ ತರಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಹನುಮಂತ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ನನಗೆ, ಅವರ ಆರಂಭದ 23 ವರ್ಷ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಇದೇ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ, ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಬಹಳ ನನಗೆ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಸರ್. ನೀವು ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಒತ್ತಡ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಭೇಟಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ಉಪಯುಕ್ತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀಡುವಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೇರಣೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಇಡೀ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮೊದಲ ಬಾರಿಗೆ ರಾಮನಗರ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲೇಜು ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಈ ಏನು ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪಠ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಇವತ್ತು COVID-19 ಬರಲಾಗಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದು ಉಪಯುಕ್ತ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ನೀಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನೀವು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಂದು ಸರಿಯಾದಂತ ನಿಗದಿತ ಸಮಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ಉಪಯುಕ್ತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಹಾಗೇನೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿ ದೀಪಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ಏನು 2-2.5 ಗಂಟೆಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಸುದೀರ್ಘವಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಆ ಪಠ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ COVID-19 ಈ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಣಾಮಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿ ಬರಲಾಗಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಯ್ತು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು, ಆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯ ಪರಿಣಾಮವಾಗಿ ಏನು ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಮುಂದಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸುದೀರ್ಘವಾಗಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಉಪಯುಕ್ತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಹೇಳುದು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ಅದನ್ನ 100ಕ್ಕೆ 100 ನಾವು ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಮಂದಿ ನೋಡಿರಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸು ಎಷ್ಟು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿ ದೀಪಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಷ್ಟೇ, ಇಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಬೇಡಿ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಮುಖಾಮುಖಿ ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಏನು PUC ತರಗತಿಗಳನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಘೋಷಣೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೋ ಆ ನಂತರ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಬಂದು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಉಪಯುಕ್ತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಇವತ್ತು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ನಿಮ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಬಹಳ ಆಭಾರಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಬಹಳ ನಿಗದಿತ ಸಮಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಋಣಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ತಂಡದವರು ಏನು ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಅರುಣ್ ಸರ್, ಶಿವ್ ಸರ್, ಮತ್ತೆ ಚಂದ್ರು ಸರ್, ಅನಿಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸುನೀಲ್ ಸರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ರೇವಣ್ಣ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಒಗ್ಗಟ್ಟಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇದು. ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಭಾ ಮೇಡಮು, ಶ್ರವಣ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು, ಭಾನು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಬಂದು ಸುಧಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವ್ರ ಸಮೇತ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೆ ಕಾರಣರಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಾನು ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮುಂದುವರಿಲಿ. ಬಹುಶಃ ನನ್ನ ಅನಿಸಿಕೆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಇಡೀ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮೊದಲು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಹೀಗೆ ನಡೀಲಿ. ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಉಪಯುಕ್ತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ನೀಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಈ ಒಂದು ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬೋಧಕ ಮತ್ತು ಬೋಧಕೇತರ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿಗಳ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಹನುಮಂತು ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿ ದೀಪಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಂತ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ನನ್ನ ಈ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷೀಯ ಭಾಷಣವನ್ನ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಬೋಧಕ ವರ್ಗದವರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವಂತ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಂತ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ನನ್ನ ಈ 2 ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ತಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹ ಸದಾ ಹೀಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬೋಧಕ ವರ್ಗದವರೆಗೂ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ನೀವೆಷ್ಟು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಪಡಿಸುವ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಜೊತೆಯಾಗಿ ನಾವು ನಿಲ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪಾತ್ರರೇ ಮತ್ತು ಏನು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೇ, ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಹ ಒಂದು ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮವಾದಂತಹ ಗುಣಮಟ್ಟದ ಒಂದು ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಜೊತೆಯಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಇದು ಶಾಶ್ವತವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಶ್ವತವಾಗಿ ಉಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತದೆ. ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಇದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಸದ್ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಲಕ್ಷಾಂತರ ಜನ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ವೀಕ್ಷಣೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶಾಶ್ವತವಾಗಿ ಉಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಹ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಈ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ನಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಮತ್ತು ಲೈವ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹಲವಾರು ಜನ ವೀಕ್ಷಣೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದಿರಿ. ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಹೃದಯಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪಠ್ಯಪುಸ್ತಕದ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ PUC ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪಠ್ಯಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಒಂದು ಅಂಗುಲವನ್ನು ಸಹ ಬಿಡದೆ ಇಂಚಿಂಚಾಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದನ್ನು ಸಹ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮವಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸಮಗ್ರ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಅವಲೋಕನವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಯಾವ ಯಾವ ವಿಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೆಷ್ಟು ಅಂಕಗಳಿಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಓದ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂತ ಒಂದು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಒದಗಿಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಕೊನೆಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆ. ಈ ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿಭಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರು ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ವಿಭಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to sincerely thank Dr. Deepa for her very, very informative words about this webinar. I would also like to thank Hanumanthu sir for his precious words and his precious time which he has spent here. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Ravikumar sir, for his presidential speech and his address throughout this webinar. I would like to thank Krishna sir for organizing this webinar successfully and making it a grand success. I would like to thank Arun sir for hosting this webinar in a very well organized manner. I would like to thank Sudha ma'am, Shabnam ma'am, Shivu sir, and all other teaching and non-teaching faculties, without which this webinar wouldn't have been possible. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants without whom this webinar wouldn't have been successful. So thank you one and all for participating in this webinar. Thank you.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ವಂದಿಸಿದಂತಹ ವಿಭಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಭಾಗದ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಒಂದು ದಿನದ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಪಾಲ್ಗೊಂಡಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪಾತ್ರರೇ, ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ವಂದಿಸ್ತಾ ಬಹಳ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬಹಳ ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ವಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಟೆಂಡೀಸ್ಗಳು ಅದನ್ನ ಫಿಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಈ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟು ವಿತಿನ್ 2 days ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಇನ್ನೊಮ್ಮೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಇನ್ನು ಒಂದು 2 minutes ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಲಿಂಕ್, ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳುವಂಥ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ನ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲ್ ಐ ಡಿಗಳಿಗೆ ವಿತಿನ್ 2 days ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ಜನರೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಟು ಆಲ್.